The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. They can tell me how we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PSP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher. Wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We can tell me how.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party. The following is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. They can tell me how we can do it together. When we look to the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PSP. People said the bag of promises, them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher. Wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We can tell me how.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
So why you come to me with that foolishness, you know? You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right stand that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable. And stop making excuses for them.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everyone in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one. Hope everyone is having a wonderful and productive week so far. Remember, guys, when you come in, thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. Tonight's topic is Andrew Holness, Desperate and Bewildered, and also Healthcare Crisis with your host, Baron and Anne-Marie. Later, we'll be joined by Mr. Rattigan and Maria. So they'll be in-house later on. Just a bit of a reminder to go and support Daisy Magazine at maxter.com/p/Daisy. And also remember on the 1st of November, which is coming up very soon, we have Mark Golden, who will be at the Westin Toronto Airport at 950 Dixon Road. So please go out and support the initiative. So thank you, guys. So let me quickly welcome those in the chat.
All right, all the families.
Leroy Henry, Beverly, Doris McCoy, Carla Ebanks, Barris White, Laris Beckford, Una Fassel, Jeanette Letts, Rennie Swaby, Yvonne Johnson, saying good night, Mr. and Mrs. Mystic Sensation, and everyone in Jesus' name.
All right,
Marjorie Hastings, Dwight Tyndale, Noreen McLean, Carla Ebanks, John Gotti, Unique Ray, Patel Cruikshank, Willie Dunn, Tiffany, Vandetta, Ricardo, Candlemax, our channel member. Remember, guys, the channel membership is still open for additional support to the channel. Lyndon Green, Balibala, Marva, G. Angel, Freedom, Devon Fletcher, Lynette Jenkins, Gillette Gooden, Florida in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much. 100 megawatt volts. Yeah, there is Marva McLean, Ian Yours, Joan, Melford Campbell, Winnie Me, Gigi Jones, Cheerful Wild Horse, Jean Royalty, Maureen Vassell, Anna Ferguson, Fitzroy Nugent, I Like Cats, Brittany L, Deb, Casmata Rhythm Killers, Marcia Edwards, Blendon, welcome, and I'll continue welcoming people as you come into the chat. Remember, if I lose control, then it will be an umbrella welcome. Dorothy White, welcome. Merlin Mollioson, welcome. Without any delay, I'm going to hand over to Byron.
All right, thank you, honey. As usual, today you have done a wonderful work with as it relates to our parliamentarian representatives and people. I know that you have seen so many promises that are rolling out. Oh my. And just imagine that they have been there for 8 years, right? 8 years, and just rolling out the promises now. And of course, everyone realized that, all right, we are in a festive election season. And so it is for, time for the promises to come out and roll out definitely what they cannot be delivered. But I am glad that the Jamaican people, right, have been edifying themselves through the various platforms and social media, right? And we know as it relates to IMF, right, the amount of loans that they had processed, right? It is not going to enable them, right, to, deal with all those promises that they are dealing with. Tonight is going to be very interesting as we're going to get into a Zara Burton report, where Zara Burton is, doing some deep dive as it relates to where the Integrity Commission, and particularly FID, where FID supposed to mount their investigation, right? And Ratty and myself and Maria will be breaking down that as it relates to Zara Burton report. So we have that to bite into. Now, my Jamaican people, we have seen that the People's National Party, as I said the last time that I've been here, that they had picked up a momentum that, the Jamaica Labour Party members of parliament, they are getting crazy as a result of the poll. So then again, we are going to show another update where the poll is concerned. And obviously, right, it leaves the Jamaica Labour Party members of parliament, right, in a very weary mood, because they know coming next year, let me say this and let me warn them, coming next year, many of them are going to be out of a job after election call, right? And yes, the electorate is going to dismiss them. No two-way about that. Now, without any delay, my people, let us get into, because as I said, tonight is going to be quite interesting. We're going to break down a lot of stuff. And so then let us get into that first clip, right? Machiavelli, right? Let us get into that and do some details where the poll is concerned.
Give me a phone, please.
And as supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party gear up for the upcoming general elections, many have already made their voices heard regarding their preferred candidates. Recent history reflects a higher favorability for the ruling party. However, the latest Dawn Anderson poll indicates a shift in this trend. Now, what could be driving this change in public sentiment? We spoke with political commentators to explore the current landscape and what it means for both parties.
In a major turn of events, supporters for the People's National Party are rewriting the narrative of Jamaican politics with a recent Dawn Anderson poll revealing a notable shift in public sentiment. with opposition leader Mark Golding emerging as a formidable contender against the Jamaica Labour Party's leader, Andrew Holness. The poll indicates that 36.3% of respondents are now in support of Golding, compared to 32.4% for Holness. This marks a pivotal shift as the PNP has overtaken a JLP that has, in recent history, enjoyed a stronger backing. As for those still undecided, the results reveal 27.4% for Holness and 38.3% for Golding. Political commentator Roger Bent suggests that this shift can be attributed to a more unified approach for Golding's leadership.
I think the parties seeming to be unified is helping his image. And with him, with the less infighting that is taking place within the PNP now, is now making him seem stronger and a more unified force. Secondly, I think the issue that the showing at the recently concluded People's National Party conference, in which he was highlighted as this family man, as this strong leader, as this facilitator.
Social and political commentator Sandra Roden notes that given the recent controversies surrounding the Prime Minister, the rise in the opposition's favorability was expected.
Of course, they have been attacking the Prime Minister on many different fronts, so of course that would lead to that unfavorability rating or that low favorability rating as well for the Prime Minister. He's being attacked, he's the leader, so naturally he's going to be unpopular. And then, of course, they're bringing out that positive side of Mark Golding, him dancing, his son speaking. And, that makes people view more favorably.
And in response to whether or not these results may indicate a difficult fight ahead for the Prime Minister to secure his spot in the next general elections,
I think this election is going to come down to base versus base, who can pull out their base more, because it's still in the margin of error. There's a lead, but it's like a 2% lead or 3% lead if we consider the margin of error. So it's not a clear cut to say voter intention has shifted. Right now I'm saying that voter intention might be straight down the middle now, and it's a matter of what happens in the next couple of months. But what I can say is that the consistency of the PNP in their attacks, in their opposition tactics, can lead to greater voter intent. The inability of the JLP to respond to that can lead to that as well.
As the public sentiment continues to shift, all eyes will be on the upcoming general elections, where voters will be left to decide whom they deem fit to lead the next government. For CVM News, I'm Shante Mackney.
All right, people, let us do some breakdown. I'm going to have Wifey put up the poll, and we just want to show, right, the significant leap that the People's National Party is making. No, people, it's not funny. I mean, great, significant leap. So without any delay, Wifey, just put up that, and let us break that poll down. We want to show, right, some details of the poll. Are they seeing it?
Yes, but let me see how, because if I expand it anymore, it's going to
okay.
Hold on, let me try bringing it up. Okay, if I bring it up, then I can.
All right.
Somebody's in the back.
Yes, I want for it.
That should be okay.
Okay, so that is okay.
Just hold on. Oh, I need to bring up the.
All right. So, people, let me say this. Sister Maria, big up yourself. All right, we soon get to you, Sister Maria. Right, all right. So, just relax a bit, because I soon get over to Sister Maria. So, people, this is the poll, but what I want people to pay attention to, right? If you notice here, as it relates to the year 2022, the People's National Party was at 18%, while the Jamaica Labour Party at 31%. Now, within a 1 year span, if you notice, Mark Golding had increased to 12%, where the poll is showing 30% here, a leap of 12%. Now, interestingly, people, between June 22 to June 24, within the 2 years gap, Mark Golding had again increased his momentum to 21%. I am saying the speed of how the People's National Party, right, is increasing its momentum. It's just amazing. And again, you have seen that the Jamaica Labour Party, right, is plummeting in the poll. Now, they are losing confidence very fast. And, you know, we are going to turn to our panel as it relates to what are some of the reasons that would have caused the Jamaica Labour Party to be imploding in the poll. Take that away, honey. Let us speak a bit, right, to Sister Maria. Sister Maria, I want to say welcome again to Mystic Sensation, and I'm giving you the opportunity, right, to meet and greet your listeners as usual. Go ahead, Sister Maria.
Greetings, Mystic Sensation, Anne-Marie, much respect and love and everything, and thanks for being in this space, and to everybody in the chat, the word is love. I hope you had a great Tuesday, and I bless you, and I wish for you a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week and all of that. And to those in the United States, remember that next week is election. Please get out and vote, because your life depends on it. Okay.
Right. So, Sister Maria, hold on. Let me, because I wanted us to ask you a question, and I'm just putting you on the spot here a bit, right? To, you know, based on the recent poll, right, and see where Mark Golden is at today as we speak, and knowing where he had left from in 2022, bearing just a minimum of 18%, right? Now, what are the significant factors? Or can you list me 3 significant factors as a result of what you think could possibly is the cause of Mark Golden momentum?
Okay, 3 things. And you know, there's a saying that one must give to Caesar what is due to Caesar. Back in 2022, when nobody was talking about Mark Golding, all you could hear is negative things being said about him. He was demeaned. You had a blogger saying that he's going to destroy Mark Golding. It was Wayne Lonesome who took the initiative and decided that, you know something, he's going to bring him on his show, have a conversation with him, and to show the people of Jamaica that, you know something, give him the opportunity. And he has, through different times, gone through Mark Golding's legislative record. So if you want to know anything about Mark Golding, you have to look at the policies that he has, the legislation that he has crafted and that passed. These over 124. So he was the first person to say, give him that opportunity outside of Jamaica, the diaspora, to give him that platform to introduce him to the people. So we have to give to Caesar what is due to Caesar. And since then, he has been steadily gaining. Mark Golding has been steadily gaining. Okay, that is 1. 2. Mark Golding has taken to heart what Michael Manley has said. You have to talk with the people. You have to walk with the people. You have to treat the people with respect. You cannot behave as though you are better than the people, because without the people, you cannot be a leader. So you have to meet them where they are. You have to put the work in. And Mark Golding has been out there in the trenches, pounding the pavement, talking to people, listening to people, but treating them with respect. That is 2. And 3, I would say he has been a voice of reason in the parliament. He has been the voice for the people, the voiceless, where he takes on issues that and takes the government to task, because he's in the opposition. But he's not only there to oppose for the sake of opposing. He's there to oppose with some sense to ventilate issues, bring clarity, and do things on to make sure it benefits the people. So he is doing that on behalf of the Jamaican people. And I would go further to say that he is as strong as the weakest link in his party. He cannot do it alone. He needs a team of people with him. And he has put together and is putting together a really good group of people who his support system. He needs that. And outside of that, political support system and family structure that he needs to help to build the kind of political apparatus that he needs to propel the party, and go into the direction that they want to go and become the next government. He has a great family. Condolences to him, his mom just passed. But he comes from a background of service. And we can see that on full display. The way he conducts himself, the way he speaks, the issues that he takes on is homage to his parents and how they raised him and the values that they instilled in him, where service must be at the forefront of whatever it is he is doing. So as a person, he has taken seriously the task of leadership, and that a leader is as great as his weakest member. Yes. So the weakest link in his party makes him stronger. And I can see him going from strength to strength and becoming the leader that he has the potential of being. Because remember now, he was a senator, then he became a minister of justice. And he also was part of crafting the language that was necessary to help secure the IMF funding that was needed to set Jamaica on the path that it is right now. It didn't just start with Andrew Holness. Let's get something straight. So he has brought all those experience. He has brought into the political space his experiences as a businessman, his experiences as an attorney, but his experiences from his family background and the family that he created for himself with his wife Sandra and his 3 children and his granddaughter. That helps to build, give him the foundation that he needs and to help him understand that this moment is bigger than himself. And he has taken it on. He has walked into it, and he is walking with the wearing the crown, wearing well the crown, because he's standing on the shoulders of great leaders who have come before him, and he has the opportunity to make the space that he's now occupied and leave that space better than he has found it. So that is what is propelling him forward, because he's treating the people with respect, with dignity, and he has carried with himself integrity.
Love that, Sister Maria. You couldn't have said it better, right? Those summaries to wrap up why Mark Golding is picking up that momentum. But from the Jamaica Labour Party side, let us look and why Andrew Holness is losing his base and losing his core people, right, and imploding in the poll. So let Mystic Sensation, right, try to describe that for you all in terms of what causes Andrew Holness to be imploding in the poll. Now, when we look on Andrew Holness, my number one issue is that when you look on Andrew Holness and him venturing into the politics, right, being young and vibrant, and he give out all those promises that he had given out and still continue to do so. So then we look on the first 100 days where Andrew Holness had promised a lot of things, right? And, as it relates to time limitation, as it relates to calling the election, right? And several other things that he had promised. We had witnessed that not one had been delivered. So I think that is one of the things that people got fed up with, right? And people just tired of the promise. Where Andrew Holness administration is concerned, you understand, so many promises and nothing being done. Number two, right, of course, we should be number one, is the rampant corruption. The rampant corruption of Andrew Holness administration, where you have seen the saga playing out with SSL, right? You have seen where, of course, Pamela Monroe, right, coming out to say $1.7 trillion unaccounted for as it relates to our treasury, right? And of course, thirdly, you have seen where the crime situation getting out of control. Remember that the Prime Minister coming in and are prior to be at the helm of our politics, right? He said that, you know, he has the policies and he will implement policies so that we would be able to sleep with our doors open. Obviously, people, none of that, right, has happened, right? And so then we are seeing where the Prime Minister himself in a conundrum as it relates to investigation, right, pursued, right, by the Integrity Commission and by the FID, where we are going to break down Zara Burton report tonight as well. So obviously, right, the apparent factors as it relates to, Mark Golden, right, pulling away, right, in the poll, right, are those factors, right? All of what Maria said, right? 100-day promise not fulfilled, rampant corruption, and the crime situation out of control, and our dilapidated healthcare sector. It is just, it can't get any worse, right? So we are going to move on in the program, and I know that Brother Rattigan will be coming later, right? So let us move to our next clip. Is the Jamaican government hiding the? Okay. So let us look.
You want to play all of it or just?
Yeah, just all right. Let us get into more of the Finsac report saga here.
Guns were begging Dr. Peter Phillips, the most honorable Portia Simpson Miller, were begging on their knees, begging for people to talk to the IMF to give us a talk after Bruce Golding, Ardlishan, Andrew Holness mash up the country. And they don't talk about that section. They don't talk about that period of time. Jamaicans, I want to welcome to Portland Spice TV, Styles FM, and Caribbean Radio. In my estimation, the best finance minister Jamaica has ever had. Dr. Omar Davis. Dr. Davis, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good to be on the program. My first time.
It's a pleasure to have you. I don't know if you remember, I had interviewed you a long time ago when you were vying for leadership at the party.
Oh, yes. Okay, I remember. Yes, a long time.
That's a long time ago. Yeah, man. So we've been on it for a very long time. Dr. Davis, I want to thank you for your service to this country, this island of Jamaica. A lot of people don't realize that when you go into politics, it's a sacrifice. And when you were Minister of Finance, you never did get $22 million a year. Were you?
No, I've never earned that in my life.
And you never decided to take up a foreign job. Were you offered any foreign job?
Several times.
What?
Yes.
You were offered a foreign job by who, Dr. Davis?
The multilaterals, the different multilaterals.
So you're talking
As a matter of fact, I recall when the deputy managing director of the IDF was retired. They had a function for him. And he said, boy, you don't understand why all this fuss about him, because the people who do real work and should get commendation. And he named me, he named Mandela's finance minister, Trevor Manuel, and so. Well, that sort of offer is a standard practice they use, you know, because if they're able to tap into the best from the third world or the developing world, it gives them an edge, and you can't accuse them of at least they think you can accuse them of bias. But yes, I was offered opportunities, mostly I'm offered the World Bank.
So you could have gone if you had wanted to.
Well, I did that. I returned to Jamaica as from Stanford University. I returned to Jamaica when I had just been promoted, etc. The truth is, I don't regard it as a major thing. It was and I don't judge anybody else, but it's a personal choice, and I couldn't see myself raising my children in that society.
Dr. Davis, let's look at the release of the Finsac archive. But before we look at the release, Dr. Davis, the banking sector, when the problem in the banking sector really started?
Well, I can't give you a definitive date, but the problem was that the practices were there, and let me just indicate that the granting of so many licenses brought people in who did not observe the basic rules of banking. And one of the things which we need to face honestly, how is it that none of the foreign controlled banks face the same problem? How is it that the credit unions all went through that same period without the collapse? And one reason is that there are clear rules governing the granting of assessment of loan application and the granting of loans.
Mm-hmm.
So what when you ask when did it start? The trouble is that against the backdrop of shortage of foreign exchange, etc.
But those licenses that you mentioned that was granted, were they granted in the 80s?
To be truthful, some were granted then, but some were granted by before my time as Minister of Finance.
Right. So some was granted in the 80s and some in the 90s.
Right. And the difficulty is that persons were, I say, aware of these strange practices, but there was collaboration between some of these institutions to find ways of getting around the rules governing the financial sector. And that's one of the reasons which I have raised and I will raise again today the question as to why Minister Clark does not publish the forensic audits.
So that
because
those are some of the things that are
redacted.
okay. Those are some of the things. But how can you put forward the archives and you don't release the audits?
Well, that's one question. The question is who made the determination as to what should be kept back, and what were the reasons governing that decision?
Dr. Davis,
And it's yes.
when you got in office, when you became finance minister, and the problem came to you, what was your first reaction and what were the options available to you?
Well, the reaction was to meet with the principals involved and to find out did they agree with the assessment which the Bank of Jamaica presented, and if so, what steps would they be taking? Mainly, the most important would be to bring additional capital into the institution. And by and large, the answers were not reassuring. In certain instances, there was defiance on the part of some of the institution or the heads of the institutions. And at that stage, you recall that several of these heads were both CEO and chairman. And there's no more powerful job than an executive chairman, because you determine what goes to the board. And you as chairman, you'd have been instrumental in selecting the other board members. So it was like, I think they call themselves the Chairman's Club.
The Chairman's Club.
Yes, because these were, and the names are all very familiar.
So were there no agency in place to oversee the regulation of these banks at the time?
Yes and no. The Bank of Jamaica was always there. The problem was that it had authority to deal with deposit-taking institutions, but several of these entities were in groups of company. And for example, the Building Society at the Bank of Jamaica did not have authority over the Building Society.
Oh.
So what was done in several instances, and the audits would show that. That's why the audits would show is that you would move a bad loan granted by the bank into the Building Society, and then send it back as one which was, one which you could have on the books.
But that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Well, it is. It's called evergreening and so on. And there are several instances of that, not only within a specific group of companies, but between institutions. And that's why I said that it is really a pity that Mr. Clark has decided to redact those findings, because those findings are not. No one could accuse the findings that also providing biased findings. These are findings carried out by international.
Stop it here.
Yes. We are going to stop it right there, folks. So based on what Omar Davis is saying right then and there, is that he just cannot understand why, the Jamaica Labour Party administration, right, willing to release the archives, but fail to release the audited portion of the archives, which will now explain in detail right, of what transpired. So then the argument as it relates to what Andrew Holness, right, is spreading propaganda and the rumor that is spreading that, okay, what caused the collapse was as a result of the Finsac, right, implementing high interest rate, right? It is nothing like that. There we are hearing it quite clearly that what caused the collapse was to the fact that these entities were not following guidelines. They were not following the regulations. And so then they were just giving out unsecured loans to their friends and families, and the beneficiaries of those loans are majority of the Jamaica Labour Party associates. The Edward Siaga, right? We have many Jamaica Labour Party cabinet members who are benefited, right, as it relates to Finsac has to bail them out, right? And so then this is very much serious in terms of, right, what had happened, right, to cause the 1995 collapse. Sister Maria.
Let me just say something before I bring in Sister Maria. Because if you guys, I'm gonna put the link as I put for the entire interview in the description so you can watch it later. Because if you watch it further on, you'll hear Dr. Davis saying that every single person who invested got their money back.
Yes.
Every single person got their money back. So it's not like SSL where nobody's gonna get their money back. He went out there and he put himself out there and he got the money and he paid back all the depositors their money. And
this is it, where you have the propagandists from the Jamaica Labour Party, Aisle Machine, right, is, you know, spreading that propaganda that persons has not gotten back their money. And Omar Davis is saying that every single person in that regards had gotten back their money, right? And yet it was the Jamaica Labour Party associates, you understand, who had caused, right, the financial meltdown. Sister Maria, you want to jump in here?
Yes, and also Anne-Marie, he also talked about doing it without international help, because when they went to the international community for help, they basically said to them, no, let it, basically in paraphrasing, let them collapse. And the government at the time, which was led by PJ Patterson, said no, they cannot do that. It's not possible to do that. And so they were able to rescue the financial sector in the 1990s without help from any multilateral agencies. You know, Andrew Holness, given Andrew Holness's propensity for falsehoods, no one can take what he says seriously. And when he comes, and something I was watching earlier where he says he has so much to say, and no, he's not going to let the country go back to PNP-ism. A few things about PNP-ism. It gave Jamal free education, free healthcare, roads, National Housing Trust, PATH program, you know, all these things, Highway 2000. And I'm just cherry picking a few things. So when you talk about PNP-ism, that is PNP-ism. What is JLP-ism? Destroying the country. But let's move on. The reason that they cannot publish the full report and release the forensic audit, it will make the Jamaica Labour Party look very bad. It will be an indictment against the Jamaica Labour Party. That's what it will be. And this is what Andrew Holness don't realize, you know, is that nobody's taking what he's saying seriously. And here's why. What he says and what is in black and white are two different things. So he gives you things as a distraction, and he will come out and say things because Andrew's behaving like a bully, you know. You say he's what? Muhammad Ali. you know. But he's a bully, and he likes to bully ride people. See, his wife is in parliament just bully riding people like she thinks she's in our house, bully riding our husband and our children. She doesn't know how to conduct herself in the parliament as a speaker. So she take her marketable behavior to the parliament, but that's another conversation. But Andrew Holness is a bully, and he tries to bully everybody and everything. And when he's talking about the Finsac report and what he knows and what he says, no, we don't want to hear what you have to say. You have so much things to say. Tell us about your 28 bank accounts. That's what you need to talk about. You have so much things to say. Tell us why it is you were not in full compliance with the Integrity Commission about the questions they asked regarding your sources of income. Those are the things that we need to know. You have a report on the Finsac. Release all of it, unredacted. Just release it. Put the forensic audit out there. Let everybody read it. We don't want to hear anything from you or from any member of your administration, because you all have a propensity for falsehoods.
Yes.
So we don't want to hear anything. Put the information out there. And the truth of the matter is, how we know that they are lying and how we know that they are just throwing red meat out there to their base and there's a distraction. If this was a damning report against the People's National Party, every word would have been put out there.
Oh, yes.
The audit, the forensic audit would have been put out there. If this was against Darren Bunting and Golding, a damning an indictment against Darren Bunting and Golding, it would have been put out there by the Jamaica Labour Party. But they know it is not, so they cannot put it out there, because members of their government and former members of their party would be implicated. So they cannot put it out there. So don't come with he has so much things to say. Nobody care what you want. Talk about the 28 bank accounts. That's what you need to talk about. Talk about SSL. We're not one single. Nigel Clark said 70% of the affected clients got back their money. It turns out nobody has gotten back a dime. You have Usain Bolt, who has done more for Jamaica than Andrew Holness and his entire cabinet combined. What happened to his $12 million? Nobody cares. So nobody wants to hear anything Andrew Holness has to say. We like to read. We'll read. We'll read it and we'll deduce it for ourselves and we'll walk away. We'll form our own opinions on what we read from the report, the unredacted report. But what is it? What are you hiding when you redact in the unredacted report? What are you hiding in the redacted report? What are you hiding? Give it to us raw. Give it in the same way the IC report was put out there. Remember before that they sent out all these little things about they want to know who are the 5 PNP MPs who are under illicit investigation for illicit enrichment. It turned out this was nothing could be further from the truth. Andrew Holness was the subject of that investigation, that IC report. 28 bank accounts. So let us talk about that. So we don't want to hear. And Finsac, which is the Financial Sector Adjustment Company, saved the banking sector. Yes, there are some people, unfortunately, who, as a result of what happened, lost everything, and including their lives. And that's unfortunate. And we still pray for those families who are left to deal with the aftermath of losing their loved ones in such a way. But what about those who were fully compensated? Also in that piece with Colin Bell, Dr. Omar Davis said when they had the investigation, they were not allowed attorneys. So nobody could. And people were coming up, there were people coming and saying, yes, they had gazillion dollars in the bank, and they were affected, but there was no way of proving that what they said to be true. So there are a lot of people walking out there and walking around talking about they lost money in Finsac who didn't have a dime in any bank. Yes. But they were not allowed to cross-examine them. And then some of the people who are cross-examining, who are allowed to cross-examine Dr. Omar Davies, what questions are there? Who was there to ask to rebut what they're asking Dr. Davis? There was no rebuttal. So what kind of an investigation was that? And Bruce Golding was the prime minister who And was it all the Shaw was the finance minister at the time?
Yes, he was. He was.
He was, right. Right. So how could you do that without giving the person the right to defend themselves? That wasn't done. And still, and even with all of that, and $160 million later, they are unable to put out the full report. Why are they unable to do that? And what they put out, most of it is redacted. So you cannot see names, only see blackout. No, put it out there. Is Siaga's name in there? We know he famously forgot his $30 million loan.
Loans, yes.
He forgot that. Who forgets $35 million loan?
Exactly.
And we can talk about the Paul Chen-Young and Associates. We can talk about Don Crawford because they were named in the Finsac report. But you know, there's a common thread between Paul Chen-Young and Associates because one person who was in Paul Chen-Young and Associates is also named in a part of SSL.
Yes.
A director in SSL. Why was he allowed to get a license after what happened in the 1990s?
Exactly.
He should not have gotten a license.
Should have never.
You see, so when Andrew is talking, we don't believe anything you say. People stopped believing you a long time ago because you lie like a galloping horse. And they say, if you want to know that Andrew Holness is a liar, tell him to open his mouth.
Yeah,
tell him to open his mouth. So don't tell us, show us in black and white. We'll believe what we read, but not what you say.
But and you know what, Sister Maria, let me just cut in right here. Now, based on the report that we had done, right? And you know, a lot of people would have read the report, right? And as it relates to basic comprehension, there is nothing in the report that suggests that okay, it is Finsac high interest rate that caused the collapse. So I am wondering why Andrew Holness, you understand, has been saying that. So I'm wondering, did he read the report? Of course not. Right?
But Byron, stick a pin right there. Yes, there were high interest rates, but there are other banks operating at the same time who were not affected by the banking collapse. And what the sticking point is that those banks that were affected were not operating within the banking regulations. They were just doing whatever they wanted to do. That's what happened.
But the way how he shaped the narrative, Andrew Holness shaped the narrative, he shaped the narrative, right, might be to convince people as if Finsac did offer loans, right, and said high interest rate. It is nothing like that. It is nothing like that. Finsac was established in terms of buying up the bad debts, right, and bailing out people, right? Finsac has nothing to do with high interest rate and so forth, right? And even when the report is out, here is Andrew, right? It goes to show you that Andrew is such a narcissistic person that he wants to tell people that what we are reading in the report, you understand, seems to be not true. And yet it is his administration who had paid investigators to complete this report, forensic auditors to complete the report, and they completed the report, and yet the forensic audit portion of the report, right, Andrew Holness' administration is hiding that. So let me ask a question. Is Andrew Holness' administration is open for transparency and balance? No. Up until this point, you understand, they are doubling down, right, in suppressing the truth. And why are you suppressing the truth? As you said, Sister Maria, because the truth is against them, right? And the truth is going to show the Jamaica Labour Party administration, you understand, in such a way that they are going to be embarrassed. We know that Dan Crawford, right, utilized loan for himself and his families, mothers and father. We know that Edward Siaga had gotten loans and so forth and so forth. And several cabinet members, you understand, have gotten loans and were bailed out by Finsac, right? And yet they are the ones who are showing Omar Davis under the bus. Can you imagine? Right, it is just, you know.
But Brother Byron and Sister Anne-Marie, here's the integrity of Dr. Omar Davies.
Yes.
Even though Colin tried to get him to call names. He said he's not going to do that. They know themselves. Such is the man's integrity. Why they're nastying up his name, you know, there's a liberty up the man's name. It's a raw up the man's name.
Yes.
You know? And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. But you know something, in the words of Isaac, God on time. Because the truth always reveals itself.
Yes.
Always reveal itself. And it's go some way, somehow, it's gonna be, somebody's gonna be willing to put it all out there. And you're going to see that what Andrew Holness is saying and what they are two different things. The fact still remains that Finsac was not a lending agency. It was created
not a lending agency
to manage the crisis of the 1990s, the banking crisis of the 1990s. That's what it was created for. Nothing else.
And he is shaping a narrative as it relates to Finsac being a lending agency and, you know, implement high interest rate. That is far away from the truth. That is so far away from the truth. Nothing in the report speaks to that. And yet the Prime Minister coming out, right, and saying all these things. Can you imagine, people? It is just ridiculous. No.
But for a man like Andrew Holness, you know, who is presiding over SSL, and whom money was deposited into his account from SSL, but nobody saw when there was no black and white, nothing in black and white that showed when he deposited money into SSL, but he got money out of SSL. He is the least qualified to speak on any issue about integrity and money. He has no moral ground on which to stand. He has 28 bank accounts, and nobody not bad mind him. He's the prime minister of a country like Jamaica, and he has 28 bank accounts. I'm 100% sure a president like Biden, who has 300 million people to govern, the greatest military in the world, the biggest economy in the world, doesn't have 28 bank accounts. But Andrew Holness, with a little country like Jamaica and 3 million people, he has 28 bank accounts. Let that make some sense.
No other prime minister in the Caribbean basin, has ever have 28 bank accounts. So them and those, the naysayers who want to try to justify what Andrew Holness did, it cannot be justified. Cannot be justified, right? And the thing about this, right, is to show you that, you know, when it comes to Andrew Holness administration, they all, Sister Maria, doubling down in the corruption. All doubling down in the corruption. Now, let us move on to our next clip, honey, right? All right, people, we are going to move on to our next clip before we get into 18 degrees north, right? Report. So we have that to unveil as it relates to 18 degrees north. All right.
In terms of the Integrity Commission, I continue to await their notification of certification.
Did you provide the documents you said they were outstanding?
Everything that they have asked for, I have provided. They have written to me recently for additional information, and I am now in the process of getting. Obviously, you see what I'm doing, I would be able to have done that, so we have asked for some additional time to provide them.
Observer, please. Observer.
Within the last 2 weeks, they have written to me, but while I was on campaign. So.
Hold the line.
All right. Take that away, honey.
Hold on.
All right. Yes, caller, you're on Mystic Sensation. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Now, to me, go figure more and give up for Zara come.
Okay, go ahead.
She can't help you with it.
Okay.
Last year, because me I hear over thing and me not hear it yet. Last year, Jamaica, the Bank of Jamaica spent 970 million Jamaican dollar, US dollar, to hold on a dollar. 30,000 US dollar less than a billion to hold on a US dollar.
Yes.
Last year. In 2008, when Bruce Golding carried China Harbour come to Jamaica, China Harbour give it $480 million as a grant. The only person what claim saying do one piece of work all the shaft. So that worked out to $52 billion at the time. Nobody can tell where that the money do. You remember when Andrew turned prime minister, when bad up Mike Henry and take away program from him, shut down the program, that was the money that was spending.
Okay.
So I just want to show them two figures that they can make Zara verify them. So me call back tomorrow or so.
All right, blessings, my brother. All right. All right. So yes. What Andrew Holness said there, obviously, we all know that is a lie. Right? Andrew Holness is saying that every information that the Integrity Commissioner investigators request of him, that he had given them. People, I want you to hear the clear disparity, of the lies, the barefaced lies that Andrew Holness is telling Jamaican people. All right. Okay, I want for people to see the barefaced lie that Andrew Holness is telling. Andrew Holness is saying to us, based on the clip that we just played, that every information that the Integrity Commission required of him, he had given the Integrity Commission. And we all know that is lie. Because the reason why the Integrity Commission investigators send the report to FID was to the fact that they are asking Andrew Holness, right, to explain its source of wealth. So I am wondering if, Andrew Holness is interpreting things properly. I am really getting to the point. You understand? Andrew Holness is such a pathological liar that he is coming out now to say that all the information that the Integrity Commission required of him, right, he had handed it over. Now, people, remember, 3 years going, that Integrity Commission had been requesting information from Andrew Holness and the difficulty, right, in getting through, right, those documents, right, particularly as it relates to the source of funds, right, and as such, that's the reason why FID, right, has been called in. So that again is to show you the blatant lying of Andrew Holness. Now let me recommend, right, none other than Brother Rattigan to the floor to meet his people as usual. Brother Rattigan, big up and welcome again to Mystic Sensation, my brother.
First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Sister Daisy. Thanks to everyone in the chat and watching, listening from wherever you are. My sincere apologies. It's almost like a weekly thing. Every week I come down to apologize. But I've been sitting here for the last 35 minutes trying to log on because I was running late. I sent you a message.
Yes,
and I just couldn't come on. And Kevin, I call Kevin till me sick. I know what Kevin there. And Kevin the answer. I'm gonna just keep playing around till. But you know what? I'm here. So
all right.
Thanks for having me. Yes, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're all fired up. Ready to go. Yeah.
All right. And here what happened, Brother Rattigan, you came in the right time, because it is now we are going to go through a Zara Burton report, right? And then, of course, I am going to turn to the panel as it relates to, to assess what Zara Burton stated in her report. And, to the fact that I've read the report already, right? There are some things I do agree with Zara Burton with. However, we are not going to waste any time. We are just going to put up the report as it relates to Zara Burton report, and then we can just dissect it, right, at the end of that. So just sit back, relax, and let us take ourselves through Zara Burton report. Without any delay, honey, can you put it up? Share.
Shared.
Okay, so this is the Zara Burton report, 18 Degrees North investigations. And she's asking a question there as it relates to her introduction. Did the Integrity Commission miss the boat while investigating Prime Minister Andrew Holness' unexplained wealth? So that is the question that Zara Burton is asking, if the Integrity Commission missed the boat while investigating Prime Minister Andrew Holness, right, on unexplained wealth. Right now, subscriber content. Despite a 2-year probe of the financial dealings of Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the Integrity Commission failed to investigate the source of funds for his now defunct offshore company, ADMAT Incorporated. And I quite, sort of on the side with Zara Burton as it relates to, right, where the Integrity Commission had started their investigation from the 2021 statutory declaration. But anyway, let us just go through the report. The revelation in its report tabled in Parliament on September 17 raises a question about the thoroughness of the Commission's investigation into Mr. Holness' unexplained wealth, since it overlooked one of the most significant periods between 2008 and 2011. I know that repeatedly Rattigan and myself, you understand, always talk about the ADMAT period, and this is the ADMAT period that Zara Burton is also pointed out. And remember, time and time again, Rattigan and myself, right, talking about the foundation of the crime. Now, let us read on. When Mr. Holness used ADMAT to purchase $57.1 million as it relates to $692,478 worth of properties without any registered mortgages at a time when his average salary as Minister of Education averaged about $5.2 million in bracket, US dollars $62,513 per year, not counting allowances. Very, very important argument Zara Burton is making here. And remember, my people, I always said, I always give kudos to Zara Burton, right? I see Zara Burton as one of the best investigator journalists that we have in the entire Caribbean, the truth be told, right? And so Zara Burton is getting into the meat of the matter here. To be sure, the Commission's investigation was triggered by concern about Mr. Holness' statutory declaration in 2021. His declaration up to 2020 had been previously certified by the Commission or its predecessor. But even though those declarations had been previously certified, the Commission's Director of Investigation decided that to thoroughly investigate the issues raised, the Director of Investigation inquiries had to be expanded to 2008 and up to 2023, 2018, and up to 2023. It didn't mention going back to before 2018, which would be the time frame between 2007 to 2009. Again, people, Rattigan and myself always speak about the foundation of the crime. The investigation report also made clear that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by ADMAT was not verified by way of an investigation by the Commission. This is quite serious. This is noteworthy because ADMAT was registered in St. Lucia in February 2008 as a holding company for estate planning purposes. And according to Mr. Holness, in a 2016 interview with 18 Degrees North, so its asset would seem to have come directly from Mr. Holness. By not having probed ADMAT, Ian Nelson, a certified public accountant living and working in the United States, who happens to be a Jamaican, believes the Integrity Commission totally missed the boat. Well, we on the panel, we are going to break down that. We are at the tail end of the chase, not the beginning. Mr. Nelson said, if you look at the source of funds for ADMAT back then, there might have been something to talk about. I do agree with that. The commission didn't answer a question from 18 Degrees North as to why it didn't probe the source of funds for ADMAT, which Mr. Holness had disclosed in 2016, had 3 shareholders, being himself and his then 2 teenage sons, ADMAT and Matthew. While ADMAT was mentioned in the investigation report, the commission's main concern was what was the value of ADMAT's assets in 2021 and how did it contribute to Mr. Holness' overall net worth then and beyond. Why a probe of ADMAT is important. This is why this is how Zara Burton is setting up the background in explaining why that is important. Let us get into it. As 18 Degrees North reported in 2016, the first known property purchased by Mr. Holness and his wife Juliet was in 2002. People want to be listening very keenly now. When they bought their home at Great House Boulevard in St. Andrew for $7 million in US currency, $144,152. With Mr. Holness' salary as a member of parliament being around $2.2 million in US conversion, $45,442 per year. People need to understand what Zara Burton is saying, you know. Right? Where Andrew Holness bought $7 million property, you understand, and a salary just $2.2 million. So people want to understand what Zara Burton is saying here. There are 2 listed mortgages amounting to $5.3 million, right? As it relates to US conversion, $109,761. And I love how Zara Burton is breaking down the detail of this report, which means that their down payment was only $1.67 million. $7 million to $5.33 million. People want to think about that. Because they are getting $5.33 million and yet they are able to buy $7 million property. That doesn't make sense, people. Make the maths add up. This is where Zara Burton is going, and which I have to agree with Zara Burton. And yet, 6 years later in 2008, without any listed mortgages, people, without any listed mortgages, Andrew Holness did not buy the property and be aided by a bank loans. ADMAT was able to purchase an apartment on Arcadia Drive in St. Andrew for $16 million. People, I want us to look at this. Right? Knowing to the fact the Prime Minister's salary. And yet the Prime Minister purchased an apartment on Arcadia Drive in St. Andrew for $16 million. People, the Prime Minister was just getting 2.2 million at the time. That was what the Prime Minister getting. And the Prime Minister is buying property for $7 million and buying property for $16 million. Come on, Jamaica. Come on. In US dollars conversion, $219,449. In 2009, a lot at Wycliffe Close in Beverly Hills in St. Andrew for $15.275 million. This is crazy, people. This is crazy. In US dollars, $173,000. And in 2011, look at this, people. $300,000 US dollars, $25.8 million for a piece of land at Shenstone Drive, also in Beverly Hills, and which his big house was eventually built. Now, people, this is something that You see the reasons why Andrew Holness doesn't want FID, right, to investigate, because FID is going to go back to 2008, and Andrew Holness is going to have to explain all of what we have read. Now let us read further on. In addition, while answering investigators' question about the kind of financial assets that ADMA transferred to Imperium Investment Holding Limited, another holding company registered in Jamaica and owned by Mr. Holness, when ADMA was eventually wound up in St. Lucia in December 2021, Mr. Holness revealed that in 2008, ADMA Inc. purchased $100,000, right? Government of Jamaica global bonds that made twice yearly coupon payments. That investment was eventually sold in September 2021. Now, together, the bond purchase and property acquisitions amounted to $64.46 million in US dollars, $792,478 between people 2008 and 2011. Begging the question, where did that money come from? This is very, very extremely serious for the Prime Minister and the conundrum that the Prime Minister has found himself in. There is every red flags, right, talking about illicit enrichment here. There every red flag that talking about money laundering here. It is quite apparently clear that the Prime Minister just cannot explain his source of wealth coming up from the period between 2008, right, to 2009, and as we speak. And so then, you know, let me just read on, because I want to make case get to the panel. In 2007, Mr. Holness had assets of only $472,531 and $7.1 million, according to a Gleaner article written after Mr. Holness shared his 2007 to 2016 statutory declarations with that newspaper, along with two other media outlets, not with 18 Degrees North, despite recent requests, right? Because he's hiding the information from 18 Degrees North. When converted and summed together, that $39.7 million in US conversion, $575,370, after subtracting the stated liabilities of US $2,874 and Jamaica $3.4 million. 18 Degrees North calculate that Mr. Holness' net worth would have been around $36.1 million, right? As it relates to US conversion, $523,248 in 2007. Now, how the Prime Minister come by this? When the salary is $5.8 million.
$2 million, Baron. That was the mortgage, it's $2.2 million.
Right? Since the purchase price of the Great House Boulevard, home was $7 million, it appears just the $472,531 was liquid or near liquid. And here is a breakdown of the 2007 net worth of Andrew Holness, right? Combined assets, liabilities, and so forth, right? Where we see a total net worth 523, right? 248, right? And $36 million, 125,000. How did the Prime Minister come by all of this? Let us just get straight to the panel, because believe you me, the Prime Minister is in serious bind. Now, Sister Maria, you know that I always say ladies before gentlemen, but this time I'm just going to ask you to just heel back. I'm going to ask the legal mind, my well-learned friend, right, to set the stage for us. Brother Rattigan, based on what we just read, as it relates to the Prime Minister salary, right, in 2008, that needs to be borne out to the people. And where the Prime Minister utilized ADMAT, right, to buy roughly about 5 or 6 properties, right? And we are seeing where the total amount is just, I would say, might be the ratio of about 7 times the Prime Minister salary, Ratty. can you lead us in terms of such discrepancy as it relates to the Prime Minister's salary and the Prime Minister wealth being attained during those periods, Brother Rattigan? Please guide us through those eras.
Okay. In 2008, what did ADMAT purchase? It was established in 2008. What property did it purchase? Marie, could you please go back to the first part? I'm going to take a quick look at that.
Yes, we're going to show all the properties. Hold on.
Yeah, just go back to no, go up, please. Keep going. All right. 2002. All right. Okay. All right. Now, you just put on there. Yeah, that's good right there. If you put on investigators, one of the things that Zara Burton didn't do, I don't know why she didn't do it. The first paragraph, she said that they, meaning the Prime Minister and his wife, purchased a home. Well, maybe she didn't have the information. We don't know how much money she contributed to that down payment. Go down a little bit for me, please.
Down or up?
Yeah. All right. I'll stop right there. Right. See, it says Juliet. The first home they bought was in 2002 when they bought the Great House Boulevard in St. Andrew for $7 million, with his salary as a member of parliament being around 2.2. What I would be interested to know is how much money did she contribute to that? We know how much money he was making, and it says that their down payment was only 1.67. I mean, we don't know how much she contributed to that. So that's just a curious point. It's an interesting point. It's not a really significant point. Here's a significant point. In 2008, when it was formed, ADMAT, it purchased an apartment on Acadia Drive. It purchased a lot on Wycliffe Close, and it purchased the Shenstone Drive lot. Also, it purchased a bond for $100,000 US. So now we're looking at 3 pieces of property. Go down for me, please. Keep going. No, yeah, keep going. Oh, you go too fast. No, keep up. Then one purchase and property. Keep going on. Let me see. All right, sit right there. Mr. Holness revealed that in 2008, ADMAT Inc. purchased $100,000 a Government of Jamaica global bond that made twice yearly coupon payments. So then the question then is, okay, you purchased 3 high-end pieces of property, and then you purchased a bond for $100,000 US. But then when you go back to 2002, between 2002 and 2008, when all this, that period between the first purchase and then these major purchases in 2000, we know that he was only making a certain amount of money and there's no way he could afford it. So here's what happened. I completely agree with Zara and with Byron that something is wrong here, that the Prime Minister has to explain this. But you know who has to explain a little bit more for me? It's the Integrity Commission. Because with all of this, I want to show you something. I want to share something with you. Just keep that 18 degrees north investigations, the paragraphs in mind, the one about the purchases. But I want to share something. Share screen.
Okay, just stop.
Well, go on now.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Could you please put that up for me? No, this is one of the most important things in the well, go on now. Man, I'm try to shut me down here now, but I'm not telling
Them can't up with one time.
No, man. Hold on 1 second. Folks, I want you to take a good look at this. You can see that? You can see that, Byron?
Yes.
Maria, you can see that?
Yes, you can see.
You can see it. All right, now, folks, I just turned to this, and this is 5.8.31 of the Integrity Commission's 171-page report. And look at what's in red. It says that in 2000, as of December 2020, ADMAT held assets totaling 130 million, right? Inclusive of the residences and the finance and the financial assets. And it was wound up on December 30, 2021, meaning that they dissolved the company. They just finished the company, and they took the assets and they transferred everything to Imperium. Why did they wind up the company at that point in time? We'll probably get to that later on, because it has to do with the laws, not with what the Prime Minister said in his affidavit, saying that it was because of public outcry. That's nonsense. But look at this, 5.8.32. That is probably one of the most significant pieces of information relative to the point that Byron just made. Let me big it up so I can really see. This is where I think them the Integrity Commission screwed up. And it's 2 lines. It says, this is after them done tell you about ADMAT, right? It is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by ADMAT was not verified by way of an investigation by the Commission. Now, there are 2 ways to read that. You can read it that there was an investigation and they couldn't verify it, or that it wasn't verified because they didn't have an investigation. Very tricky sentence. I don't know why it was written this way. It's not written in the language looks simple, but the interpretation, it's ambiguous, because it said the source of funds used to acquire assets held by ADMAT was not verified by way of an investigation. So they're saying we didn't verify it because we didn't have an investigation.
Yes.
Or some people could interpret it to say it was not verified by way of an investigation that we conducted. But either way, what they're saying is that they don't know where the money come from.
But Rati, can I ask you a question right here? ADMAT, as according to what the Prime Minister said, is a holding company.
Yes.
Right? So let me ask a question. Does ADMAT have an established account?
ADMAT did not have a bank account, you know.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. If ADMAT doesn't have a bank account, can you explain to us
how the money
ADMAT purchasing these properties? No,
you stick me up now, man.
No, but
Maria, at this point, I said, take it away. I'm not going to answer the question. No, hey, look, Byron, the question you asked me,
yes,
I don't know. I really don't know. And that's a question that they should have been asking him, because we read in this report, or somewhere in this report, that ADMAT did not have a bank account. ADMAT did not have a bank account. So the question is, okay, it's a holding company. What financial instrument did they use then to hold on to this money in St. Lucia?
There it is.
So, yeah, so here it is that I agree with you. I agree with Zara that we don't know them drop the ball on this one, because them since them start and them gone back, them should just go all the way back and just say, you know what, we don't care where we're going to say our people say, we are going to do what we think is right by the law and by the Jamaican people, because people need to know where this money come from. You can't have all this money just fly all over the place and purchase this, purchase that, and you don't have a source. Where did this money come from? Where? And here it is. I mean, it's right here. What section is this again? This was 5.8.32. Folks, if you have a chance, go just look up this section inside of the report, and you'll see they said that ADMAT not verified. The source. Again, here it is. It says it is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by ADMAT was not verified by way of an investigation by the commission. And nowhere in this report will you find that they said, oh, we verified that the money came from this place and it ended up in ADMAT. So the Prime Minister is in deep trouble. But I also fault Integrity Commission, because they should have gone a bit deeper. They should have gone back and look at this. It's not enough to say, well, we couldn't verify it. Yes. You know, it should have been important. What you know what I would have loved to see inside of this report? That we contacted the St. Lucian authorities, and this is what they said about ADMAT.
Yes.
I would have loved to see that piece in there.
But Ratty, my next question is, and forgive me to be asking these questions, but I just
no.
If ADMAT, based on what we have read, appears to be the original source of funds as it relates to buying up those properties, right? And the Integrity Commission, based on what they said here, it is important to know that the source of funds used to acquire assets held by ADMAT was not verified by the way of an investigation by the Commission. Then my question is, why did the Integrity Commission certified Andrew Holness 2019 statutory declaration?
There you go. So that's an outstanding question. That's an outstanding. Oh, and here's another question.
Yeah.
If it was verified, if you verify a statutory declaration, can you go back and unverify it?
Because where I'm getting on, Ratty, based on this investigation, is that if you have problem with this 2021 statutory declaration, right, as it relates to the source of funds, what that should suggest to any investigator that all previous statutory declaration being certified would have now been affected. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Exactly. So that let me just break a bit and just have Sister Maria.
But one quick second. The three pieces of property. The three pieces of property. Do you know if by December 2020 that ADMAT still owned those pieces of property? December 30, 2020, not 2021.
Yeah, I would believe so. I would presume so.
But if that is the case, then guess what?
Yes.
This number here is wrong. This 130 million. That's incorrect. It will be incorrect.
Yeah, and you will be correct in saying that.
Yeah, if ADMAT owned the Shenstone, the White Cliff, and the other one, the apartment.
Yes.
And the bond hadn't been paid yet. Those four assets, they come up to more than 130 million.
You would be correct.
So why is it then that we see where the chartered accountant is saying that as of December 31st, 2020, this is what ADMAT owned? This number here, 130 million. That can't be correct.
It can't be, because if you read along here, it said that ADMAT held assets totaling $130 million, $423,412, inclusive of residential and financial assets. ADMAT was wound up on December 30, 2021. So in 2020, ADMAT would have owned them based on what that we have just read there.
And it's more than those what, 3 pieces of property or 4 pieces of property plus
Yes.
the bond. The bond alone is 100,000.
Exactly. So this is not correct. This is not correct. You're right. You know,
Let me move it.
look, this is getting more serious. But before we tread along, I don't want to burn Maria and don't have Maria said something. All right, Sister Maria, jump in right here, and then we go back. Me and Ratigan again, and you again will go back in the details. Go ahead, Sister
Well, like sand through the hourglass, so are the funds in Andrew Holness's account, just streaming through. And you know, I'm looking at Zara's report, and she does very good reporting, very good investigative journalist in Jamaica. And 2002, you see his not his statutory declarations, his assets, what his assets were. But to fully understand, to get a full sense of where we are regarding the IC report, and you know, one has to go back to the very beginning. And I would say go back to 1997 when he became a member of parliament.
Agreed.
And look at his finances building up from then. So when you do that, you would get a sense of what were the sources of his income then. You know, he just became member of parliament. So how much money was he getting then? Okay, did he start doing investments after that? Where did he invest and all of that? And build from there. Because you cannot start an investigation in the middle and expect to come away with a satisfactory conclusion. Because there are other things that happened prior to that would not have factored into the investigation. So it would be prudent, in my opinion, because he's the prime minister, to go all the way back to 1997 when he just started in that position as a politician. You know, because in the interest of good governance and transparency, that is warranted. Because nobody can understand how he has funded his lifestyle. And this thing about being bad mind and envious, nobody not bad mind in Andrew for nothing. That's garbage. He is the prime minister. How on God's green earth the prime minister of a small country like Jamaica has 28 bank accounts? And why it is he is unable to show the sources of his income? How did money come into that? And if ADMAT was a holding company, how was it generating funds? Where was the money coming from, in and out? Nobody can see that. And again, I'll go back. He got money from SSL, but there is nothing in black and white showing when he made a deposit into SSL. So with all these open-ended questions, one has to say, what kind of prime minister Jamaica has? What kind of prime minister? Because nothing, all of this reeks of corruption, every bit of it. And him being a prime minister, and the way he likes to run his mouth, he should be the first one to say to the Integrity Commission, these are, you know, be an open book. This is how I fund my lifestyle. I have investments here. This is what I invest in. You know, this is how much I make for a salary. It's open secret how much he makes for a salary. This is how much I make. This is where I invest. How he's just walking and purchasing properties. And one of the issues, one of the things that I have a serious issue with is that the prime minister in the middle of a pandemic was busy opening and closing bank accounts and busy doing all kinds of investments, $20 million here, over $400,000 there. All of that was happening while the country was asleep because nobody could go anywhere and do any serious work because he shut the country down.
Yes.
And then he opened it up to run an election to benefit himself. And then when he benefited himself, he shut it down again, while at the same time, he was doing his three-card trick with all these bank accounts. So the more we talk about this, is the more questions that arise and the less answers that can be derived, because nobody has, the only person with the answers is Andrew Holness. Because he bought a house with his wife. How much did she contribute, like Ratigan said? Because in the IC report, there is nothing, there are no bank accounts that we see with her name on it as a spouse. We see his constituency worker, we see his mother, we see his father, but we don't see his wife. Why is that so? Is it that do they have accounts that we are yet to unearth, the IC is yet to unearth with her name on it? Or is the situation where they just have this agreement that we're not gonna join our monies because my money might be your more than your money, and your money might be too is my monkey money for mine, so we can't join. So all in all, you look at this and you just leave, you're left scratching your head wondering why, how, and where are the people in the Jamaica Labour Party, in the current administration, to stand up and say to him, given the cloud of suspicion that you are under, it is in the best interest of the country for you to step aside, allow this to play out, and if all works in your favor, then you're free to come back, but show that you are serious about addressing the problem of corruption in Jamaica by doing the honorable thing and stepping aside. Because all Zara Burton's reporting has done is raise more questions.
Serious questions.
And serious questions. And the only person with those answers is Andrew Holness. Is he going to give up those answers? He's too arrogant for that. And his arrogance, his lies, and his pettiness is getting on top of the nerves of everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just add a quick piece here to it.
Yes, brother.
In the same report, I don't know. Well, actually, I underlined it. I don't know why I didn't raise it. We're talking about going back and looking at 1996, 1997, because they were doing statutory declarations then under the I think it was the corruption act, or the other one. They had an integrity act commission at the same time, but they were doing statutory. They just didn't start in 2017. They were doing them before. Yes. So like Maria said, maybe they should have they should have gone back. But here's an interesting piece. In the same report, it says, and this is worth showing. You know what? Let me show you this, because no one won't believe this. I'm going to show you what. Just every time I read this report, I see something that, you said to yourself, so how could they allow this to happen? Mm-hmm. Here we go. Marie, could you please put up that for me?
No. Ratty, just hold up a minute there. Let me just take a call and before you proceed. Please. Okay. Yes, caller, you're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Yes, brother Byron.
Yes, brother.
So one previous program where you're out, you did a try to find out the shareholder in SSL.
Oh yes.
But you did have a missing name I couldn't come up with. I want for Andrew name.
Oh boy.
There was a percentage. You get money out of financial institution like that, or you not deposit nothing unless you so you get dividend. That's right, though.
There you go, my boss.
That's some financial thing, though.
I tell you something. There were 3 names that were missing. Yes, there were 3 names were missing, and I was.
Yeah, yes. You show the program. I want the blackout, and we can't find out who.
Exactly.
So I want to name that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
You can find say you deposit money, but you tell us you get money. Does it come like say me, I'm shares in our business, and when the business make profit, them send my little much come. That's right, go.
Yes, my boss. Yes, my boss.
No money. I don't put my investment in it. I don't put my thing in it that me own it. A part of the ownership. Never shares in it. So when I make money, me get my percentage here.
A good argument.
Somebody have to do some. Somebody have to do some deep dive to find out that third person there,
A good argument, yeah, looking at my boss. Good solid argument, yeah.
Yeah, man, that third person I want to find him out. Now I tell you which part of man the thing I come from. Film thing I come from, we from Siaga when him in a territory for Siaga for 3 years. And him joined the politics 97.
Yes.
And Chuck, we are running off him out when they say him no Andrew long time. Yeah, him know him from them time in the Siaga office. And him run him charity. And he was a liar who set up the charity them time left. I say, I tell you, say, man, he must hear a lie, do all of them. The thing there.
Yes.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember say the Integrity Commission flagging the charity money, you know.
There you go.
So the $47 million way my boss wants him coming up politics with. It can be possible true, but him couldn't disclose it, him have to hide it. And the question would arise from them time there. But now, as we say, lie or something come back straight, you know. So I come all of them things that come back around for them, you know.
There you go. There you go.
Chuck said no, the prime minister for about 30 years, and I'm supposed to know him from them recruit him in a Siago bandwagon thing, and we don't know if he repetition already. Them borrow and pay back, and him more government, GCT, money thing company, them when so you might want him, so Andrew, they want him there, where they get some of the legacy from blinds and them time there, and maybe they allow of them to wash out some of the money and hide it though.
Point taken, my brother.
And the same thing, there are people running in an inner circle, but we don't know about the hide him little money for you, keep it for you. More side money. I mean, I think all of you little money this man. The amount of money him got, right? It's all over, and I only about them.
Oh boy.
The main thing when I stress about, I really like when somebody get a deep dive, you know, the third person there, we are shareholder for SSL.
Well,
you understand?
Well,
yeah, I'm I work for me, you know, so I look out feet somewhere along the line. So,
well,
no, if I know you can do it, there's other person out in the circle who not tight, and if you even come together and find out, but it must be there, man.
Well,
record must be there.
Well, guess what? Me know say myself, Lonesome and Rattigan and Maria, and all of us we have to start to get us what they call it, scuba tank, and try deep diver.
Yeah, man, I forgot deeper, man.
You have to go deeper, my brother. Exactly, my brother. Yes, sir.
Start from way back all of them place there.
Yes, yes.
From 94, between 94 for find out the charity company with Siaga, when they work for Siaga from them time there.
Yes.
I want to find a missing link.
No, between 95, between 95 and 96. Remember, I said 94, he was in university. So between 95 and 96.
Left university 95,
yes.
95
and
97.
Yes.
And coming out of politics.
Yes.
Because that's the only job description him have, you know.
Exactly.
That was a charity, so him still never have a pay bill. He just a donation, he get like a charity, a voluntary thing. So
yes, man, you are correct.
Your transportation and your time, and well, you don't get a proper salary, a big salary. So
yes, you are correct.
Money called charity.
You are correct.
Charity man, you know, so he love them thing there. Someone want to do that deep dive.
All right, my brother. Bless up yourself.
All right. Yeah, man, I call from East Kingston, East
all right.
Man.
Blessings, my brother. All right. Okay. He touched some solid points. Yes, brother Rattigan. I'm sorry to
Yeah, no man, no worries, man. No. The caller, you see, if the caller had made that statement to me like 2 years ago.
Yes.
2 years ago, I said to him, saying him sick because the prime minister would have never done something like that. But I would be wrong because after what we see what are going on right now, and with all the money that's a flow, him do it with such disdain, him do it with such openness, him do it and him just a flaunt the door and like him just say, right, me not care, but you know, I'm here in Jamaica, me a bro God, me can do what I want to do. And so the caller, the point the caller make is a good point.
Yeah.
Because because the way the prime minister was acting, who knows if he was on the board? We don't know. And I'm right. We need to take a look and find out who that missing board of director that director is. We don't know. But the point I wanted to show you was this: that again, I mean, kudos to the Integrity Commission for work that they did, but it wasn't perfect, and you have to point out the imperfections. Yes. Look at this statement, 5.8.3. 5.8.32. It speaks to everything that we've been talking about as to why they didn't go back. Look at what they said. They said it is important to note that the source of funds used to acquire assets. Not that one. Not this one here. Next page, right? That's 63. This is 64. He said certification and publication of Mr. Holness's assets, income, and liabilities up to 2020 were done mainly on what? On the face of what was presented.
Okay. So they answered it.
They never look. They never look. They just say him do it. I would just say, okay.
Okay. So
it's right there.
So now we understand.
Yeah.
Because they answered it.
Them answered.
Maybe it was out of their scope, the sort of investigation that needed to be done, and now that's why they refer to FID, because maybe most of their investigation is based off documentation that's presented by the persons who are filing.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
The thing is the Director of Information and Complaints, his primary job is to review statutory declarations and verify. So
yes.
They did what they're saying right here is that we didn't do any verification. He just gave us the thing on the paper, and based on the face of what was presented, we said it must be okay, and we just do it. Because otherwise, they would have said we verified it, we went and we checked out the information that he provided us. But look at how they phrased it.
They said they just face value and certified it.
Ratty, you have pointed out.
They didn't do any investigation back then.
So you have pointed out. You understand, Zara Burton curiosity as to why they didn't go back there, because it is their bold in writing. Up to 2020, were done mainly on the face of what was presented in his declarations. No investigation.
Exactly, and big up yourself, Freedom, because Freedom jogged my memory about this thing, and when she said, does the IC have people that are experienced in the matter of investigating specific accounting matters like these? And then it starts to myself, that's a good point, because if they had, then why is it they didn't go back? And then we said, well, wait a minute, I remember I saw something where them said they didn't go back, they just look at the documents that were presented, and on the face of the documents, they said we certified and published it. So now, the point that you made and Maria made, about them going back and starting way back, they would be justified now in doing it, because now they could say, you know what, we didn't do a deep dive, we didn't do a complete investigation of it, but now that we're seeing some blatant actions taken here as far as his financial life is concerned, we need to go back now, and that's why I asked. That's why the question now as to whether if something was certified, can you go back and uncertify it? And said, no, we're pulling the certification because we have come across information now indicating that it shouldn't have been certified in the first instance.
Exactly.
But it's right there.
Yes.
It says
all right. The investigation that FID is going to take, right, depending on when FID is going to do the investigation, it is going to have what we call a domino effect, Ratty, as it relates to FID getting back to the source, right? The source of the crime, which now is going to expose the era where ADMAT existed as it relates to 2008, right? That era is critical, you understand, to unfold all of what we have seen here, right? And so then, let me again ask another question here, right? I'm just, not asking a question, but I'm going to, utilize an hypothetical reference here. Said November 7 arrived and the court picked out Andrew Holness' application, right? Where the events would have taken from there, what would happen? How the events would be unfolding? Is it a situation that the Prime Minister now, right, where under that investigation and where FID is going to now launch the investigation, is it appropriate now for the Prime Minister to step aside?
Yes, and the Prime Minister should have stepped aside when the report came out. Should have stepped aside then, because it was damning and it's serious. Even though to me, it didn't go as far as it could go, but as far as it went, it cast a very, very bad light on him. And the question now is on November 7th, what will happen if they rule against him? Well, don't forget that the opposition tried to pass a motion asking the parliament to support referral to FID, and the government the government representative said that they said no, they're not gonna entertain the motion. And if you remember, the Prime Minister's wife, Speaker of the House, she wasn't there when it happened, and then when she came, she said she would have entertained the discussion. Don't know if she's, you know, she just saying it genuinely or she just saying it. You know? But here's the thing. Several people said, well, and I believe Colonel Charles Jr., if I'm not mistaken, he was one of them who said, well, there's no point in us entertaining this motion because the referral has been made already. Yes. Right? All right. They said, so why we entertain it, but we're going to support it? It's over there already. The question is, what has FID done with it since they've received it? Are they sitting on it and then saying, well, we're just going to wait for the court to render a decision before we conduct any investigation? If I were there, I wouldn't be waiting on the court. No, you know, because I wouldn't be waiting on the court because here's the thing. What? Come November 7th, we don't know what's going to happen. If they rule in favor of the Prime Minister, guess what? The Attorney General and others, they have to file an appeal. They must file an appeal. This case is not going away anytime soon. And I can tell you right now, the Prime Minister he's having sleepless nights. Like myself, but for different reason. He might have sleepless nights because here's what happened. Should he lose that action, he has no choice now but to file an appeal. And he's going to elevate the matter, and it's going to be in the public domain, into public space even longer. Now it's going to get into international space because it got on the appeal court. Wow. Right? And it's going to be a bigger problem for him. So there is going to be an appeal. Whoever loses is going to appeal this case. Him can't just lose and just say, all right, you know, that's it. That's not his nature. And him come this far, right, putting up a fight, so he's not going to stop. He's going to appeal. So this case is going to go on for a while. It's going to stay there, which you know, is contrary to the 9-day wonder thing. And this is happening because of him. If he had any sense, I shouldn't say it like that because because I shouldn't say it like that because he have enough sense that some people voted for him. But if he was thinking about this thing carefully, he would have said, you know what, 9-day wonder. We could just make it run. Mr. Clark is leaving. We'll find somebody who can go over there and we can deal with the investigation from the Ministry of Finance perspective and quash the whole thing. And that's it. We'll just move on to the election. That's what he should have done. That's what he should have done, but he never do it. He go get the bedtime and he make people tell him, give him all kind of fool advice. And now he go file a big lawsuit. Yes. And never got a problem. And without him, and you know what? They never even named the Attorney General. He never named the Attorney General. And he have to realize, he must know that no law can be passed in Jamaica without first, after it leaves the Parliament, it have to go to the Attorney General for the test of constitutional sufficiency to say, okay, this law is fine, it's okay with the Constitution, and then it moves on to our friend there, our friend who know how to, I don't think he knows that use scissors. It go the GG, it go over this to him, and then him just sign off.
Just that man.
That's it. So the questions that you're asking, they're very pertinent, but I can tell you that there is going to be an appeal. There is going to be an appeal. So this case is not over. And to be honest with you, for our purposes, we don't want it over as a quick night. We want it sealed. Because more things are going to come out, and there's no 9-day wonder. There's no 9-day wonder. And I just hope that FID should just, I hope that they've begun the investigation and they've started with the Egmont group and start doing what. And by the way, FID, please, we don't need to talk to the CG in New York. Just talk to her. Okay, all right. No, we don't need to talk to. They need to talk to Mr. Knight. Can we call him Mr. now? We don't have to call him Minister anymore, right? You know, Mr. Nigel Clark, Dr. Clark. We have to talk to Dr. Clark. We have to talk to Minister Favour Williams, and then we have to talk to the CG. And you know why? Because those three people are the people with the most financial experience, I think, of the entire JLP group. And and we believe that the Prime Minister was in constant contact with the CG before she became CG, when she was involved in the financial industry. And so we need them to interview her. And the first thing we need to tell her is that please do not tell us any lies, because if we find out that you lie about a material fact, then you're looking at prison time, and then go from there. So, but this is interesting. This is interesting because this is going to go on for a while. This is going to go on for a while.
Quite interesting. Okay.
But sorry, before you move on, because I'm curious too.
Yes.
Kay Watson had asked this question for a while. Does anyone have an idea why Andrew Holness can't be forced to step aside until his investigation is completed?
Yeah, because because you need a vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
To get rid of him. And absent that, it's entirely up to him.
Yes.
It's entirely up to him. If he says if there's no request for a vote, a no confidence vote in Parliament, then he doesn't have to do anything. He can stay there as long as he wants. And all people can do is try and apply pressure, like PSOJ, and maybe his mother and I don't know if his wife would pressure him, but maybe his constituency, and maybe all of Jamaica can protest and say, no, you need to go. Or maybe they need to go up at the US Embassy and say, please help us get rid of this man. Go to the US Embassy one day, go to the UK Embassy, go to the Canadian Embassy, and get rid of him. Other than that, no, you can't force him. You can only do it by a
vote of no confidence.
Question: if FID is investigate, and wouldn't that be a criminal investigation if FID starts to investigate?
No, it is a criminal investigation.
So he should be able to. You should step aside because it will be a criminal investigation.
But it's up to him.
Of Jamaica take like a class action motion against him in the court to step aside?
No, you still can't force him. Here's how you force him. Two ways you can force him. One is through the no confidence, and two is to introduce him to some nice jewelry, some bangles, and then then he have to go. Yeah, if you introduce him to some bangles, then he have to go. Yes. But other than that, there's nothing you can do.
All right. And let me just have Sister Maria in this space right now, because we can't burn out the lady, someone. Come in, Sister Maria. Dying to hear your voice,
Yeah, arrogance would not allow Andrew Holness to do the right thing and step aside. And his arrogance has been on display since he was in opposition. Because remember now, he was the opposition leader who had those signed undated resignation letters, and he used them, and he was taken to Constitutional Court, and he lost, and the people had to, it was Tufton and Arthur Williams, I think it was, who were put back into the Senate because they did the noble thing of making government work and sided with the PNP on an issue. And he took issue with that. So what purpose did he serve them? What was the purpose of being there? If he's going to just for the sake of being just oppose for the sake of opposing and not govern, because even though you're in the opposition, one can govern in terms of how you choose to oppose legislation on behalf of the Jamaican people and how you support legislation on behalf of the Jamaican people. So they're an integral part of the government. But I'm thinking about his behavior through the years. He has little or no regard for the Jamaican people. And, you say now that him being investigated by FID is a criminal, it's a criminal investigation. Now, Ratigan, my question to you is there anything, whether in the Integrity Commission Act or in the Constitution, that would allow for POCA to be a part of this Proceeds of Crime Act? Because if he has wealth, unexplained wealth, those things should be confiscated and sold, and those monies put back into the coffers, the public coffers. So will POCA play a crucial role in the investigation of the Prime Minister, because it cannot only apply to poor people where they confiscate the unexplained wealth from poor people and do away with it and then put the money back into the coffers. It should apply across the board. How can this be applicable to Andrew Holness?
Well, poker, there is and it gets a little bit tricky now, because now we have to digress a bit and talk about the CMOC, which is the organization, the oversight committee that they formed back in 2020 to deal with crime issues, reduction of crime, transformation of the JCF, helping out the judiciary, as well as another group, not the firemen, the correctional people. And what happened is that one of their priorities was to have this. It's similar to, because poker is the law, but they were supposed to make an amendment to it, and the government decided that they're just going to slow walk this thing, and they have not done it. I'm looking for it right now, because I had them on 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about I had Lloyd Distant, who's the outgoing head, and I had George Overton, who is the co-chair, new co-chair, and they were talking about it, talking about the fact that they were disappointed that the government didn't see it fit to move forward with the thing, with the poker amendment that would deal with the issue you just raised, as well as the fact that he's taking them to court to get rid of the illicit enrichment provision of the Corruption Prevention Act. So they're very upset about it. And the thing that you're talking, they did not amend poker. So right now, the only thing they can really go after them for is under the illicit enrichment. And if that is stricken from the law, then we have some serious problems. I don't know what we're going to do after that.
Exactly. All right, Ratty, I want to ask both you and Sister Maria, right? A serious question as it relates to first understanding Andrew Holness' strategy facing the eve of a general election. Now, as it relates to constitutionally speaking, right, we do a general election, right, constitutionally every 5 years, which would be next year. Now, Andrew Holness facing this predicament. Now, what I'm going to ask, right, in terms of Andrew Holness, right, facing this situation, having a general election next year, and you have the Integrity Commission annual report, right, for 2024-2025, which that report, that Integrity Commission annual report may reveal, you understand, other persons from illicit, as it relates to the illicit 7, as it relates to the 2024-2025 annual report. My question, right, just trying to understand Andrew Holness. Does he want to take, do you believe that he's going to call a general election before the Integrity Commission 2024-25 annual report, right? Not wanting to have any more release of the illicit 7 that left, or he's going to take it to the wire? I'm just asking. Anyone can answer first.
Maria, I'll yield.
I'm not sure if, this is a tricky one, because it would be in his best interest not to call it before the Integrity Commission make the report, because what if people's names are called? So you do it before they come up with a report. You wrap up the election, and all the thief them still back in the parliament. That's one way of looking at it. But in the interest of good governance and transparency, he should call it after the fact, And what should happen is that the names of the persons who are under investigation should be made public so that people know who it is that they're voting for. One, Andrew Holness is not qualified to lead the country. He's not qualified to lead the Jamaica Labour Party. He should be disqualified. He should be set aside. They need to deal with that. There need to be some people in the JLP with some balls to stand up and say, enough of you, Andrew Holness. We cannot have you weighing the party down, because the truth is Andrew is dead weight, as we have seen with these polls. And he's going to continue going down and down in the polls because people are tired of his arrogance, his disrespect, and his wanton disregard for the Jamaican people and their intelligence. So it would be in his best interest to do it before, but I would say I have a problem with doing that. Doing it, getting rid of the persons who are under it would be better. Be fully transparent. Let the Jamaican people know who it is that they are voting for. Who are the dishonest people? Because if this, the truth is, if this was on the PNP, they would be asking for this. And they'd be coming out and saying, you're not qualified and we need people of unquestioned. Those are the words of the Prime Minister, you know. He needs people of unquestioned integrity in his parliament. He has no integrity, so he's not qualified to be there. He has questionable character. His integrity is compromised, so he should step aside. And pressure needs to be brought to bear on the government to make sure that the names of the persons who are under, because they know themselves. This thing about that nobody knows who's under is garbage. They know who is being investigated. They know that they're being investigated. Have the guts and the decency to come out and say, yes, they were written to by the Integrity Commission and they're under investigation for unexplained wealth, illicit enrichment, taking taxpayers' money. They don't have hospital, they don't have school. So who have the money? Who get the money? That's what it comes down to. So that is where I would start. Give us full transparency, but call the election and let the chips fall where they may. But I don't think he would call it. I really don't think he's going to call it before June. But, you know, it depends because the polls are not in his favor. So he might wait it out, you know, to see how things, because he said he can turn it up and turn it down, which makes no sense. And he says he has so much things to say and he's not saying what he needs to say. He's only cherry picking stuff out of the Finsac report and using it as, you know, as a distraction. But what he needs to say is how he came, where he get the money from to maintain 28 bank accounts. Is he a banker or a prime minister? Is he an author? Is he a student, full-time student, or a prime minister? No, that is what he needs to talk about. Yeah.
All right. Ratty?
Yeah, couple of quick points. Anne-Marie, just please put that up for me. Let me just show the viewers. All right. Maria was just asking about the Proceeds of Crime Act. The stakeholders, see that deeply concerned by governments about turning. This is what they were talking about: unexplained wealth orders, and that's the amendment to it. And here it is, right here. It is in bold. Stakeholders in the National Consensus on Crime say they are deeply concerned to learn that the government is no longer pursuing as a priority the introduction of unexplained wealth orders. And then it goes on to tell you what exactly unexplained wealth orders are further down. But I don't want to take up much time. If you can find, this is a DINA article and it's dated the 4th of October, I believe. Yeah, I think it's October 4th. Sorry.
Go down.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, see that? Friday, October 4th. You can just, that's the headline. Stakeholders deeply concerned. You can look at all of that. Now, let me just say one quick thing here. Owen Bernard in the chat, he said, Mr. Rattigan, he always seems to be giving Conjure Holness some ideas of how and what he could or should have done to get out of this conundrum. Owen, let me just say this to you. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know. You don't know. And I don't know if you, I think you listen to my program, but we have to bring you closer to the front of the class, man. Because here's how you look at it, Owen. You see the advice I'm giving the Prime Minister. I know we can't help him. Him can't go voo, him can't go V, him can't go up, him can't go down. Think about it like this, Owen. It's like somebody rob a bank and them home and them see them picture up on the TV and them here said there's a APB out for them and whatnot. Now him sit down there and him have to say to himself, well, what if I go back and take back the money and carry it and give the bank? And just give them and say, let bygones be bygones. But I give them back
already.
Owen, exactly, because Owen, guess what? The crime has been committed. So no matter what you do. So that's why I'm saying to you, Owen, the Prime Minister never take my advice. And if me want the Prime Minister to go left, Owen, me I go tell him to go right. Because when him not go with me, I go left. But him in a position now, wait, no matter what me tell him to go, anyway him go. Him get jammed because like right now, yeah, him get jammed because right now, when this kid, when they have this hearing, him lose it, and we fully expect him going to lose it, him going to have to appeal. And him going to do something against his nature, something we no want to do, which is to keep him out in the limelight. It's bad enough we do it, but when him do it to himself, it's like him commit suicide. So, Owen, if you're tune in tomorrow, and come read with Rattigan and come over, man, and make we talk, man. And then on Saturday you can come and just reason with Rattigan, you know. But the ideas of when I get the Prime Minister, trust me, the ideas him can't take none of them. Because I give him film sit down there and him have to say to himself, why me never think about this before? Because guess what, the bank robbery don't commit already.
Exactly.
So no matter if you come down and give back the money, it don't commit already. So that is that.
All right.
Election, whether or not you call the election.
Yes.
Again, I'm in a bad position, Byron. I'm in a bad position. Because here's what happened now. The dollar get weaker. The Bank of Jamaica prop it up. Them can't prop it up much longer. Remittances are go down. Tourism dollars not coming in fast enough and not coming in sufficient amount. Prices are going up. We have the Prime Minister now who in a bad position. How am I going to call the election now before Christmas? It is forecasted that this Christmas is going to be one of the worst in history, of Jamaica. So him can't call it before Christmas. So again, it's a bank robbery example where I get. Where exactly. He can't bring back the money. That's what it won't commit already. So now him sit down there and believe me, him don't know where him don't know because him get bad advice to begin with and him go rob the bank, so to speak. People, no, please don't call me and say, please, Prime Minister rob bank. It's just a metaphor, right? It's just Prime Minister rob the bank. It's just for the purpose of the conversation. We are saying, the bank done rob already, so you can't bring back the money because them still have a charge you for bank robbery.
Exactly.
Right? And if you keep the money, you don't go away and them hold it, they're going to charge you for bank robbery. That is exactly what. So he can't call it. He might think and say, right, me can't put the numbers them go down, so me can't call it now. Things are look worse. Mr. Clark jump ship and gone left me, right? And Mr. Tufton, who's supposed to help me, I've signed book in Atlanta. Everybody I do something else, nobody now rally around me. You know, the only thing I save him right now, the only thing I save this Prime Minister right now from his own party is that them don't have a suitable replacement. If they had a suitable replacement, he would be gone. But you see, what they're thinking about politics, they're not thinking about the people of Jamaica. So what they're saying is that we have to win at all costs. And even if it means we have to keep this man, this bank robber, we have to keep him because if we give him up, if we get arrested, the whole thing mash up. So that is why them can't do it. So if I look at next year, if I'm doing it this year, I'll be very surprised. But I can tell you one thing: if I'm doing it this year, guaranteed he will lose. Guaranteed he will lose.
Next year, guaranteed.
Yeah, but also remember now on this issue of money and how you have a thing about money is that remember he's the one who got an unsecured loan when he should have gotten a secured loan. He borrowed the money.
Yeah, we hold a point there because I have a call online. You understand?
Okay.
I use up is our credit. I want to just facilitate a bit. Yes, caller. You're on Mystic Sensation Live. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good night to Mystic Sensation and your panelists, sir.
Bless up my brethren.
Yeah, man. I just want to go back to this SSL situation
Yes.
a bit. As far as I'm aware, the Minister of Finance should be demitting office tonight.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, okay, he made a statement from last year, 2023, when the incident of the fraud with the SSL, made a statement to Parliament about the involvement of a lot of organizations, including the FBI. And he says that no stone will be left unturned. He's going to bring all the perpetrators to justice, and the chip will fall where they may. It doesn't matter where, but it is going to. Now he's leaving office, and we, as the Jamaican people, he has not given us a formal report as to the status of SSL. He has not told us anything about the involvement of anybody else, save and except for the lady who confessed who is still in jail. Nobody else, right? And his leave is demitting office tonight. Now, one of the world's most known persons, Usain Bolt, got robbed in SSL because as far as the Minister of Finance said at the time, it was one of the greatest frauds that we could, in our recent recollection, in Jamaica and in the Caribbean for that matter, fraud, And Usain Bolt was a victim of that fraud. So Usain Bolt would have heard the statement that the Minister of Finance made at the time because the global media had all of the information about what had happened to Bolt and his loss. Now, this might be a radical suggestion, but I believe the time has come when Usain Bolt should go to the international media and tell them the true position of what has happened to him.
Agreed.
I believe he should do that because, listen, it is not that he was not affected, and he says, and you read a lot of his what do you call the media again? Is a TikTok, a lot of things coming out, and he's making comments saying that nobody not say nothing to him, but he now come out and make a definitive statement about his status. All we know that he has not got back his money. But to me, Mystic, if Usain Bolt should come out and make a statement, remember, it is going to have a trickling effect because Usain Bolt is a victim of corruption, and it's that same corruption that is afflicting all Jamaicans. Look at the hospitals, look at our roads, look at our teachers, our nurses, and you can go right down. And some ordinary Jamaicans that are being affected by corruption, paying your taxes, and the politician takes it away from them. The people cannot see any benefit. So I am suggesting, I'm sending out a message to Usain Bolt that if he goes out and meet the international media, right now the finance minister is coming to New York, coming to the USA to take up an employment with the IMF. And to my mind, the finance minister, I dare say that he's corrupt because he told a lie about who are going to be involved just to cover up his own colleagues. And I can say it right now because I see it. The Integrity Commission show me that to the extent that the Prime Minister is taking the IC to court. Can you imagine? Integrity Commission, the Prime Minister is taken to court regarding integrity matters. So I believe, and I'm sending out this message to Bull through your media, that it's time come to America, where some of the biggest media is, and explaining story at the same time. Nigel Clark who shows to the public that he's corrupt. That would have an impact, and the people back in Jamaica could see some benefit, I believe. And I don't know what your panelists might think of my radical recommendation to the legend himself. But I believe it would have some impact and some benefit to the average man who is suffering under this government and their corrupt practices. And I just leave it for now, and thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, every time. And, you know, wonderful input coming from you. So let me just take it to the panel right away as it relates to what the caller just said. Very important. Sister Maria, based on what the caller just said, right? Do you believe that it would apply significant pressure if Bolt himself take this situation outside and start to report it to international entities? What do you think, based on what the caller had just spoken about?
Yes, if Usain goes to one major international news outlet, BBC, MSNBC, CNN, ESPN, and talk about it, it will cause a shift, because now everybody knows Usain Bolt. It's an internationally known name, and he's loved. He's loved, you know. So if he does that, it will cause a seismic shift in the conversation about SSL and the level of corruption that exists in Jamaica that allows for this to happen and go unchecked. And like he said, Nigel Clark said that the FBI were on the ground. He said, all of these things, and he's going to leave no stone unturned. All of the stones are still there. The bodies are still buried, and nobody has gotten any report on the SSL matter, and yet they're running their mouths about something that happened 30 years ago, and something that happened 2 years ago. They have no say about it, like it didn't. It's as if it didn't happen. And here we have, and the thing is, we don't want to just talk about Usain Bolt like there are not other victims. There are many more victims, but because of his notoriety, he would help to bring some pressure to bear on the conversation and force them to do something about it. But because he's being, he's playing the waiting game, I don't know why, it is. But I do believe that it would cause a sea change in the conversation. It would be a seismic shift, yes.
Okay. Ratty, we have another half an hour to wrap up on the program.
Yeah. Quickly, Owen Bernard. Yeah, Owen Bernard. Yes, my brother. I understand where you're coming from, but yeah, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Everything good. All right. So tune in tomorrow and tune in on Saturday. Now, regarding the quest, the Bolt, sometimes when you're afar, you can see things as opposed to when you're involved. And maybe that's why we can see so many mistakes being made, because we're not involved. Because if we were involved, maybe we would have made some of those mistakes. Maybe we wouldn't have, because we're not driven by greed or corruption. So maybe we wouldn't have made some of the mistakes we made. Why do I say this? I say this because we're talking about the icon, Usain Bolt. I hope you remember something when we'll talk about him going to the international media, that on or about January 17th of last year, you remember what happened? His lawyer gave SSL a 10-day notice. If we not get our money back in 10 days, wara. And what happened? Yeah. Nothing happened. You can't make them statements unless you have your thing set up and you say, we'll take action if we not get the money, and you take action. That's how you do it. So I don't know who advised Bolt, but you need to come around here. You need to come around. You see, if you watch this program, anybody who close to him, tell him to reach out to us, because around here is where the real advice resides around here. Because we not do it because we are look no friend or nothing like that. We are look about the Jamaican people. And you cannot have the illegal representative come out and make bold statements like that in the press, that them get SSL 10 days, and if them don't turn over the money, what kind of action you take? And up to now, which what it's almost 2 years now, right? And no, it's 2013. Yeah, it's almost 2 years. 2013 to 2014 to 2015. Yeah, almost 2 years, in a few months. It'll be 2 years, and up to now you don't get your money. I yield.
Okay. All right. Let me just take Brother Uriel here. Yes, Brother Uriel, you're live. Please go ahead. Good.
The family.
All right.
Question here. Because other people talk about Nigel ago overturn every stone. But my little piece to that is that instead we don't run the stone. So we're sorry saying get a push off before we get to the stone. So we could leave that alone.
All right, Uriel.
We want to go down this part there now. When out of Andrew something there, Tufton, which one of them lie more?
Well, the last time I look on the race, I switch out the both of them time now.
Because that them look like swapping black dog for monkey. That look like swapping black dog for dog. And dog we are swap for dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not lie more than Christoph that right now, Virgin.
Well.
Me think he might beat Andrew by far. me know say Andrew narcissist, but this someone you know a different class by himself.
He was a little bit ahead of Andrew, but Andrew knows touch the finishing line before him.
Because I cannot believe that Christopher Doctor Cook said it. He blame doctors, he blame administrators, he blame everybody in the book. Except say Virgin, why am I drop the ball?
But then today he said he never did it.
Well, me hear Shaggy come out and talk about it wasn't me, but Shaggy, me don't know, you missed the boat, man. This someone that beat you.
All right.
So, well, big up on yourself here, sir. But put it this way, Baron.
Yes.
I hear Sister Maria talk about why the people in the party for push him out. No, nobody in the party can push him out. Nobody in the party can push him out because everybody come up the same way.
Exactly.
Probably the worst come up than him. And then just push him up front to take all of the blame. Because see Chucky come out on the inside and now say the boss Andrew don't need no taxpayer money. He don't need no from politics. So he came into politics squeaky clean and leaving squeaky clean. He don't have nothing to do with nothing. He don't take nothing. And I went upon the boss. Where Chucky get the information from now? All these years people talk about Andrew and Chucky just come out with them information. But I don't know. And I will always say, until we hear the next 7 or the next 8, because probably they never lump the Prime Minister in the 8.
Yes.
They have him as a separate entity. So they just say 8 members of Parliament plus the Prime Minister. So we don't know if I hear that. So, but for right now, we have the whole 49 of them as under investigation. All of them, because we don't know who. Right? Yes. And they don't have no intention within no more election. And that's not for them thing now. For them thing right now is just to protect themselves from going on a GP, because the stories run a horizon, suppose that clean out all the place run for them.
You're right, my friend.
So we got the motivators. I go and take care of yourself out there.
All right, bless up yourself, my brother. All right, that's brother.
But here's the thing, gentle people. Delroy Chuck suffers from acute mental lapses. Because remember now, he said he has known Andrew Holness for over 30 years. Wasn't he the same person that took Andrew Holness to court on behalf of Tufton and Williams when he gave them he kicked them out of the Senate, having the with the undated resignation letters? So you know, he's a little sketchy right there when he's, because how do you defend a person like that who's violating the constitution of the very country that you are running? Exactly. That alone should disqualify him, because that is incurable and untenable.
Mm-hmm. One quick thing that regarding Chuck, Minister Chuck, where he said that them don't need no money from politics. If that are the case, why I'm vote for the raise then? Why I'm not give it back? Since he don't need no money, them not to give it back. Yeah, and the Prime Minister only give back fee money when he realized the outcry. Him lobby for it, right? Vote for it, and then himself no want it, which is very, very strange. The second thing is correction. Nigel never said, Dr. Clark never said, I will not leave any stone unturned. Him said, no stone will be left unturned. He must say, whoever turned them over. So he gone. He said, no, he can't say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
I'm glad you point out that Ratty. Glad you point. All right, so people, I am just going to release the phone lines for persons. As I said, I'm going to finish the program at 9:30 to be exact, because of course I don't want to keep.
But before you do that, you know, we have to talk a little bit about the kind of rhetoric that is coming out of the Jamaica Labour Party via their MPs about the election, because Roy Clark said at a campaign rally that, because I wrote it down, he said it's not going to be peaceful, nice. The politics of the day is changed. Wow. And his opponent is Senator Allen. And this is what I'd love to say to the Jamaican people. Stop allowing politicians to turn you against your neighbor. That's your neighbor. You can have differences of opinion. You can have political differences. But why would you want to destroy your neighbor? Why would you want to destroy your communities for a politician? Because when they give you $5,000, you elect them for 5 years and they pay themselves millions of dollars. And you still don't have roads, you still don't have schools, you still don't have hospitals. Instead of voting for the person who gives you a fish, vote for the person who is willing to teach you how to fish.
Very good.
That's because they're setting you up for a better life. Think of your children, your grandchildren, think of yourselves, and don't let it go back, because what this harkens to is the politics of the late 1970s, 80s, orchestrated by the Jamaica Labour Party. And they cannot allow themselves to be taken back there. And Roy Clark should be, and I'm wondering who is going to call him out on this, where's the PAJ and PSOJ and all the AJs and whoever the Ps to come and hold these people accountable for spewing this kind of hatred against their fellow man. Because when he says that, and Warmington is always out there saying insidious things, dangerous things, calling people dog, chink, and fly, Jamaicans. And they want to represent these people, but you're saying, no, you cannot come because you over there is this person. Whenever you sit and condone discrimination against anybody, it's only a matter of time before you are the one being discriminated against. It's only a matter of time before you are the one who is being disrespected. So I implore the Jamaican people, please do not support or vote for any politician who is pitting you against your neighbor. They are your neighbors. Your children play with them. When you go to the same church, it cannot be that an election, you're going to cause an election to destroy your entire community. And Roy Clark should be raked over the coals for saying that, because he's basically inciting violence against the Jamaican people from his bully pulpit. And he's the deputy speaker of the House. And when he says that, crazy people are listening. And it cannot be that they're going to win the election by any means necessary.
It's necessary.
No, have a free and fair election. That's what the Jamaican people want. Free and fair election. You don't have to use brute force and ignorance. You don't have to use dishonesty. You don't have to use thievery and stuffing of ballot boxes. And you do not have to incite violence from your bully pulpit against the Jamaican people who you say you want to represent. You want them to send you to parliament. To do what?
Exactly.
No politician should be giving gun to anybody to cause harm to people's children and to destroy their neighbors. It is time for this nonsense to stop. And for those politicians who want to give a $5,000, take the money and go and vote for who you want to vote for.
Yes.
But stop taking fish. We can look at what happened with Damon Crawford. When Damon Crawford was running in East Portland against Anne-Marie Valls, he said he talked about farming and having young people becoming entrepreneurs, goat farmers. They laughed up and they mocked him. And they voted for somebody who went and lay a carpet. The rainfall, water went up the carpet lift up and gone. And you're still there. And I'm sure you regret not voting for somebody who had who was more concerned about your future and not only your present. You have an Isaac Buchanan who is down there right now, who is talking about empowering the young people. Stop voting for people who will give you a fish. It's not going to change overnight. But if you're willing to work with somebody who is willing to give you a start in life, that is the person who you must support.
Yes.
Not the person who is going to give you $5,000 and then get $5 million as pay. Because when the $5,000 is finished, you're still hungry. Your children cannot go to school. You don't have hospitals to go to. It's not even a free doctor can come to Jamaica and do a surgery for free. Let that make some sense. Let that be your guidepost. You have to measure these people by how they are treating you right now. And they can come with all the promises, oh, we're going to give a house there and a fall cup there and this there, and somebody going to get a donkey and one going to get a cow and we're going to fix a piece of road for one person. No, invest in the young people, invest in their communities, the skills training centers, the vocational training centers. Not every child is going to make it academically. What is there for those persons who did not make it academically? It cannot be $5,000 on a plate of food. It's time for you to stop doing that, become educated, informed voters. Run them more than $5,000 because they're taking $5 million from you. And then they're going to say to you, you cannot ask me anything more because I already bought your vote. Be better.
Exactly.
Can I just make one quick comment on what Maria said? I know time is of the essence. But Maria, the part where she spoke about teaching somebody to fish and giving them a fish and teaching them how to fish, you know, think about this. The Prime Minister promised prosperity. He has prospered. He's going to give you a fish, which is $5,000. All right. If we can make the comparison, if not just him, but all politicians, if they are going to buy votes, I'm going to give you $5,000. But look at what the Prime Minister has amassed in such a short period of time. What the Prime Minister should do is come out and say, listen, I'm going to show you how to achieve prosperity like I did. I'm going to show you how you can form 3 companies in the midst of a pandemic. And I'm going to show you how we can move 474 million Jamaican dollars in and out of the. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you can buy a house on Beverly Hills. I'm going to show you can have a company overseas, and we can get money through the company and come and buy up things in a Jamaica. That is where I'm supposed to. When I talk about prosperity, all I want to jump up and down about prosperity. Go back and look and ask yourself: are you better off now than when he first told you about prosperity? And I guarantee, I submit to you that most of you will say it's gotten worse. But for the Prime Minister, it's gotten better.
Much better.
Think about what Maria said. Fish, or do you want to be taught how to fish?
All right.
I rest my case.
Well, on Brother Rattigan and Sister Maria, I have to ask you permission, right? Could I extend the program for another 10 minutes? Because since Sister Maria touched some things, right, I want to also emphasize, right, on some situation as it relates to we going down into the politics and where we need to stay away from political violence. So I'm asking you your permission to extend another 10 minutes.
Byron, I tell you already, You see, once me come on, once me come on, I'm yours until you tell me say we're over.
Right.
So you don't have to ask me nothing.
What you say, Rattigan? Would they like Skillachi for years?
Love that. All right. That being said, as it relates to what Sister Maria just said, and Sister Maria giving the warning, right, for us to stay away from the political violence. But I want to use the opportunity as well, right, to show our listeners, right, what appears to be the Prime Minister going down the road of violence. And I want people to see this clip that I am going to display. Wifey, without any delay, can you put up that? Big up yourself, Bola, VNR. You understand? Blessings, Bola. And people, Bola, make sure you not support Bola, Make sure you not support Anasabella Rose. Make sure you not support Rattigan. Make sure you not support Lonesome. Make sure you not support all of, you understand, the Andre Stevenson, the Aromatic, and all the people. Bola, big up yourself, my boss. All right.
And don't forget Jeffrey. And Hot Off for the Press and Jamaica Hot Topic. God bless them.
Honestly, I love to highlight these people because they spend their time and they are working on behalf of Jamaicans, all Jamaicans, right? Be like when Bolo break down his things, and very detailed person, right? So we love that, and we welcome Bolo in this space, right? All those persons who are working very hard, the Andre Stevenson go way down. Isaac Buchanan have him channel, context matters. You understand? Big him up. And remember, you understand, we can't leave out the Titan boss, we can't leave out Titans, and the list goes on. So big up everybody. So let us get back to, as it relates to how the Jamaica Labour Party is building up a narrative for violence, and I want people to identify this. Without any delay, let us get into this. Jamaica Observer, Holness says, in English. So look at this paper, what I'm going to show, right? To as it relates to what Sister Maria said, where Eli Clark is going out and is not being called in. You understand? By the leader of his party. Because the leader of the party is doing the very same thing. He can play. Okay. Yeah.
I know that as leader of the country, as leader of the political party, many men wish death upon me.
Many men wish death upon me.
As your leader, I am always ready. As your leader, I can absorb, like Muhammad Ali, all the punches. And sometimes I don't throw the punch, Sometimes I just rope a dope. I just bounce with it. But don't worry. The knockout punches are going to come. Because we have worked too hard to build this country, to make the fake people come and take what we have built. We will work hard. We will show care, and we will get the people of Jamaica to support us and continue the good work of the Jamaica Labour Party. My Jamaica Labour Party family, the people of Jamaica, I love you. Thank you. God bless you, and go home safe.
Sister Maria and Brother Rattigan, when I just listened this, it appears as if the Prime Minister is definitely threatening the electorate and threatening, right, the opposition party. Because what he said here, right, that the knockout punch is going to come because he has worked too hard to let it go. And I see that. I see that as a political threat. I definitely see that what the Prime Minister is saying, that he's not going to let this go by the ballot, right? It seems like he's suggesting, you understand, that by any means necessary, he's not going to let go power. He's going to deliver knockout punches. And that to me seems like a threat. I don't know if I might be over exaggerating here, but that look to me that the Prime Minister, right, is either threatening the opposition or threatening the electorate. What do you deduce from that, Sister Maria?
He's doing both. And the thing is, he's not the only one saying that, because Darrell Vaz has said the same thing, by any means necessary. We hear, what's his name, Warmington on the camp, he's doing the same thing. And Darrell Vaz is the son of Douglas Vaz. The Charleses are the children of Pernell Charles. So that bloodline is there for, and the thing is, they not only the bloodline, their parents were involved in the Jamaica Labour Party at a time when violence was being used to sabotage another party, to sabotage the People's National Party. And they cannot allow themselves to go back there, because it's their children and their grandchildren. Many of these, many young people right now, and well, shouldn't say, many adults right now lost their parents in the 80s. Many of them lost brothers and sisters. It cannot be allowed to happen. And when they come up with this kind of rhetoric, they must say to them with their full chest, we will not support you, because you will not come into our communities and destroy our communities. You will not come into our communities and turn us against each other. We need our neighbors. When you're packed up yourself and you're gone to your Jackson and your Cherry Gardens and your Beverly Hills house, we are left in these same garrison communities. We are left with these same zinc fence, with no outlet. You give the $5,000 and you're gone about your business. It cannot be anymore. They have to stop it. They have to make the change. They have to be the change that they want to see in Jamaica. It cannot be allowed to happen anymore, because we cannot lose any more of our young people to political violence. The crime by itself is high enough. Why do we need to add political violence to it? And any politician, I don't care who it is giving a gun to a young person and telling him to go and cause harm to his fellow Jamaican. They must videotape them. Everybody has an arm. Every donkey cart man has a cell phone. Videotape them some way, somehow, and put it out there in the public space. They must be named and shamed. It cannot be that you're a politician asking people to vote for you, but you're using violence to get into office. And when you get into office and you use violence, who are you going to represent? Who are you going to represent? How are you rebuilding these communities after they have been destroyed? You see what the 1980s violence, the remnants of that are still there. People are still living with the effects of that. Because many of the persons who were in the JLP in the 1980s, 79, 80s, who are part of inciting that violence against the very people they want to represent, like a Pernell Charles and a Babsy Grange and an Audley Shaw, Mike Henry, they were in the JLP that sabotaged the PNP in the 90s. Sabotage them. But the communists is the communists there yet? The Chinese are there. And the greatest Chinese communist party is the Chinese People Republic, whatever they call them.
Exactly.
They're the greatest communists, but they are there. Is anybody inciting any violence against them? Is anybody sabotaging them? Is anybody saying the communists are coming? No. But the JLP of the late 1979, under the leadership of Edward Seaga, sabotaged the Michael Manda administration, caused mayhem, bloodshed. Seaga didn't say blood going run from wherever, I know. He made that statement. I don't remember the exact quote, but he did make that statement.
He also made
and boy, there was bloodshed. What did it? Exactly. And there was so much bloodshed. Many people lost their lives. Many children lost their parents. Many mothers and fathers lost their children. It cannot be allowed to get back there. And the things that they're saying is mirroring that same language that was being used back then. A lot of people are old enough to remember it. And so we have to guard against it, because when Andrew Holness has gone up, his children are protected. Darrell Vaz's children are protected. Pernell Charles's family is protected. What about you? You cannot throw yourselves to the wolves like that. You cannot allow them to come into your communities and destroy your communities and drive out in their fancy cars with their chauffeurs and their security and leave you there to bury your loved ones. And you don't even have money to bury your loved ones and maim your loved ones. And you don't even have a hospital to take your loved ones to after they are maimed. And you still don't have a school, you still don't have good schools, you still don't have hospitals, you still don't have proper roads. There's no infrastructure in there because you allow them to use you again for violence. See your brother and your sister as you see yourself. And the churches need to rise up against this kind of rhetoric coming out of these parliamentarians. And anybody come with this madness, this nonsense about it's not going to be peaceful, it's not going to be nice. Are you kidding me? Given the 1980s and what happened, this should not be allowed. And no politician who says that should be allowed to continue in that role. None. Because he's destroying him or her, they're destroying the very community that they want to represent. How wicked and evil can you be to want to do that to your fellow Jamaicans? It is a disgrace, and I implore my Jamaicans, please don't go down that road. Don't run them away, but don't. Yes, like somebody said, Mountain View and Ed Bartlett. Exactly, Ed Bartlett is still there. It's not today. Yesterday, Ed Bartlett in a JLP. So it might sound like stale news, and Andrew like to say, many of you don't remember the 1970s. They remember the 1970s because a lot of people have children, have grandparents and parents who remember the 1970s, and their parents tell them about the 1970s, and their grandparents tell them about the 1970s, and they can read about the 1970s. But a lot of them, do you ask me if they remember the 1980s with the bloodshed in the streets? It cannot be allowed to happen. And whenever we get on our platforms, we have to remind the Jamaican people, do not allow any politician to use you to hate your neighbor. Yes. Do not allow them to use it to destroy your communities.
All right.
Because when they're finished and you give them your vote and they win after destroying, using you to use violence against your neighbor and against yourself, they pack up and they go. And they're in their big houses with their families, having the best meals, and they don't give a shit about you. It is time to wake up and do better for yourselves and for your neighbor.
Yes, thank you for that, Sister Mara. Before I go any further, I just want to remind all the listeners here that tune in on Brother Rattigan show tomorrow. Please remember to tune in to Brother Rattigan show tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. And as always, Rattigan show always an interesting show of packing, right, solid topics. All right, so Brother Rattigan, you have heard the clip. What have you used from what the Prime Minister?
Well, based on everything I've seen and heard, the Prime Minister is desperate, and desperate times call for desperate measures. He has lost the faith and the confidence of the Jamaican people. And so, brothers and sisters, family, we cannot afford to have 30% of the voting population determine a mandate for the full 100% of the people who are qualified to vote. We must go out and vote. People died for you to have that right. And it's a crying shame that you would sit back and allow 34% of the people to give a so-called mandate. Think about that. A minority is giving the government a mandate for the majority. And then we sit back and then we complain. You cannot do that. You must register your complaint in the voting booth. That's where you do it. Now, the knockout punch that he's talking about, that knockout punch, you know, when a boxer in prime, in reflexes sharp and punches them crisp, and as you get older, your skills erode. You might talk about knockout punch. The time come for knockout punch gone. You know, when the time the knockout punch was local election. That was the time for the knockout punch, the local election. And what happened? You can get knocked out. And it's like a boxer will get knocked out and then put the smelling salts and then get up and then still want box. And the man must say, no, the fight over. The boxing not over. It, as far as I can say, this thing is over. We just need the people to go out and vote. That's what we need the people to do. Because if you, at the time of when he should have delivered that knockout blow with the local election, since then what has happened is polling numbers are plummeting. You have more issues with education, more issues with housing, more issues with national security, more issues with foreign affairs, more issues with, you name it. You pick a ministry and you have more issues. You have more complaints. The economy is not doing well as advertised. For the masses, for some people, yes, it's doing well. But for you, the people who were promised prosperity, there is no prosperity coming right now. And there is none as far as we can say until you decide what you're going to do with the election. The change that you're talking about is in your hands or on your finger, the one where you go dipping at the ink. And it's sad to say, but if you continue, my Jamaican people, to have a meager sum of people voting, then this is going to happen again. It's going to happen again, and you cannot blame anyone, because we in the diaspora, we are, for the first time in the history of the diaspora, you have a very dynamic and aggressive group of people saying, we see what the issues are, and we're going to bring them to light to our people, and we're going to ask for change. Yes, there are things that we can do, and we're doing them, but we cannot do everything. You have to join the fight. You have to raise your voice in unison. And thank God for the people at the Royal Carlton who show the rest of Jamaica that if you're dedicated and if you are cognizant of what the issues are and you're willing to stand up, you can make a change. You see, the Royal Carlton, you see what happened? General manager get suspended. Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett have high-level meetings. Minister of Colonel Charles Jr. when Ministry of Employment or whatever I mean.
Social Security Minister.
Yeah, him out there. And then the parent company for Royal Carlton, them send out a VP for come Jamaica, for come be a part of this. Why? Because people stood up. That's all we're asking people. Let's stand together. You know, we don't want to be unbalanced. We can't do it alone from here. We need to do it from there as well. So I yield to you, my brother. The knockout punch, right. the knockout punch thing that now. So you know, when I said knockout punch now, with all of the deficiencies what happened since the local election, it can only mean a return to violence.
Exactly.
Or more vote buying, or bosom, or a combination of all three. So
yes. He's going to use everything that he can use.
Maria laughing. Maria
laughing. All right. Thank you for that.
Maria, me come from the Zoom place.
Let us show the people the history of the violence with Andrew Holness. He's known for violence. Regardless of Andrew Holness coming out and, you know, shape his pretty, what you call political rhetorics. Andrew Holness is known for violence. And let me play the clip and show people the evidence that Andrew Holness is known for violence. All right, so just watch, people.
Mr. Holness joined them up there and walked through the crowd, overran the whole place, went down to the area for registration, overran that area. The electoral supervisors had to leave and abandon their station, and there was disruption for half an hour until we had to restore it and allow some more people to vote. Okay? What he has done is irresponsible and is outrageous and is unworthy of him as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party.
People, not my word, not Maria word, not Rattigan word. Whose word is that? Ardley Shaw word. Said what? Andrew Holness is unworthy. Unworthy. So I want you to hear that from him. And there it is. That is where we're going to wrap up with that final clip. Mystic, remember pipe bomb. And, you know, somebody just said that. Mystic, remember the pipe bombs, right? What was it? It was what? 380? 320 pipe bombs were found there in troubled area, East Kingston.
The worst thing is even tied, you know, Byron. The worst was even tied.
Yes.
So people need to go back into the archives and dig up all the stories on what happened, the sabotage and the kind of political violence that overran Jamaica in the late 1970s and 80s, orchestrated by the Jamaica Labour Party under Edward Seaga. That's not a figment of my imagination. Those are facts. And if you're shooting at somebody, that person going to shoot back at you.
All right.
If you're fighting somebody, the person going to fight you back.
Exactly.
Them say the pipe bomb. Them say Rennie said the pipe bomb. I wonder if one of them pipe bomb there are one of the what other shipment that end up at the Prime Minister's house the other day. Surprisingly, we never seen no bomb squad up there. I never seen no ambulance up there. And those are the things as first responders expect we see upon a bomb scene. So we are wondering if the bomb scene was a manufactured bomb scene as opposed to the real one where them find the pipe bombs in. So all the missing rifles to your soul.
But Ratty, but the minute they came up with that story, everybody debunked it because we're like, how the police are stationed. That look like that is just like, you know, an ordinary thing. That just don't look like a bomb scare. What kind of madness is that? And it became 9-day wonder.
No, but you know what? I got it from a police source who told me that there's no such thing as bomb thing. Him said nothing. It's a domestic affair thing. Him said there's no bomb squad up there, no ambulance, not like that, and that's routine. Whenever you have a bomb threat, you're going to have those people. You're going to have you're going to have the bomb squad. You're going to have ambulance. So we know what's going on. Over to you, Mystic. Take it away.
All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Right, another wonderful, right, program tonight, quite edifying, as it relates to Sister Maria, as it relates to Brother Rattigan, right, and we are saying, tomorrow we have Brother Rattigan. Please tune in to Rattigan, right? Yes, and Thursday, of course, Mystic Sensation and the Titans, right, and Friday back again on Tuesday. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thanks to you all for passing through and make it Mystic Sensation a night. It's always been, right, quite edifying. Rattigan, once again, I want to say big thanks for passing through. And Sister Maria, bless us.
Much respect, and have a good night, everyone.
You too. You and have a wonderful and blessed rest of the week.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, so thank you again for tuning in. Really appreciate each and everyone's continued support and endorsement. Thank you so much. We've had a long day for those who have been with me since 1 p.m.
You did awesome, honey, because you have been, you've gone more than 16 hours. I will say,
it's been a long day.
It's really been a long day. But wonderful job because you have been here, right, keeping it up, and you know we really appreciate it. All right, yes, Lord, thank you. Great content as usual. Blessings, my brother. All right.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. And until when is it?
Thursday, Titans,
and then Friday
we're back again, and you know Tuesday. So
okay, so thank you so much.
Have a wonderful rest of the week, all our subscribers and people in TV land, right? Have a wonderful week, right? Love you all.
Okay, safe travel on the gravel. Until next time, bye.
All right.